What is up, everybody? I forgot to get myself an alcoholic beverage for this stream, but we press on all the same. It's totally fine. Happy November. Hopefully everybody had a good Halloween. Hopefully everybody's having a good weekend so far. We've got week 9 start, sit, help live now. So thank you for joining. Just got to let my Discord folks know. As always, we'll go through the latest rounds of injury updates and practice reports that we have, and then I will get to questions. I feel like there's, as always, a long laundry list of injuries that we need to talk about, but hopefully that will help answer some questions about your situation. And if not, as always, I will get to each question to help set your starting lineup for week 9, sort out the starts from the sits as it pertains to your specific situation. As I see members pop in, they will get shouted out, and also their questions will be answered in priority order. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. If you are interested in becoming a member, those details are in the first link in the description of this stream and all the videos and streams on the channel. Starting with what we have as of this morning. Anything else from yesterday at this point is older news. Let's see. I also got to pull up these matchups. I know a lot of them. I see names. I'm like, who are they playing again? I know the schedule at this point for the most part. Let's get into it. Jordan Love, Puka Nacua, those were the question marks, but that were more on the optimistic side. Both are expected to play tomorrow. Love can be fired up in one quarterback formats. Obviously, Puka is in your starting lineup if he goes. He does go in the later window, though, the 4:25 Eastern time zone window. So just be prepared to have a backup plan ready in the event that Puka can't go. However, it is looking like we can be optimistic about his availability tomorrow. Love at home against Detroit is perfectly fine. Maybe a little bit more caution with him this week off the injury report. Super flex leagues, you have no choice. You have to start him. One quarterback leagues. It's a good matchup. Obviously, he's a little bit higher injury risk just because he has been on the injury report this week after what happened last week. But he's a perfectly fine guy to stick with in one quarterback leagues if you don't want to move off of him. Drake May cleared concussion protocol for the Patriots and is off the injury report week 9. So he will go against Tennessee. He's playing the Tennessee Titans. That is a difficult matchup, but I believe is that a home game? It might be a home game for Tennessee now that I think about it. Let me see. I should know this. It's a home game for Tennessee. Yeah, tough spot for Drake May, but you feel a little bit better about their pass catchers, Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas. I guess that's about it for now. Their dart throws. It's a tougher matchup, but you feel a little bit better about their prospects with Drake May looking likely to play. Juju Smith-Schuster ruled out. Okay. DeAndre Hopkins is on the wide receiver 3 radar. Dalvin Cook was elevated once again to the 53-man roster for week 9. And then, the kind of segue into that is that Ezekiel Elliott will be inactive for what I've seen so far as disciplinary reasons. So Zeke is not going to make the trip to Atlanta. Dalvin Cook gets elevated, will be the RB2 behind Rico Dowdle, who missed Sunday night football last week with an illness, but is expected to return. He is looking like a stronger cemented option as the 1A, at least for his particular backfield. And while it's not the most ideal matchup against Atlanta, this game does have a high point total. There's a lot of points expected in this game against the Falcons. I think Rico is a perfectly fine, strong RB3, low end RB2 territory, a guy that you can fire up this week against Atlanta. A lot of scoring expected. Bucky Irving listed questionable, as is Sterling Shepard for Monday Night Football for the Bucs against the Kansas City Chiefs. Bucky is on the RB3 radar, but obviously with this toe injury lingering all season long, it is a concern. Nevertheless, he remains involved in the rotation, in that backfield rotation, as long as he's active. So he's in play as a flex option. Even though it is a tough matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, they are one of, if not the best run defense in the league. So not super crazy this week about not just Bucky Irving, but Rachaad White as well. I feel a little bit better about Rachaad White than Bucky Irving because he's the pass-catching running back. And generally speaking, when you have a split backfield in a bad matchup against specifically the run, I prefer the guy who can catch the ball in those matchups. So Rachaad White should be okay. Not that Bucky Irving can't catch the ball, but he doesn't get deployed, or at least to this point, hasn't been deployed as the receiving back, the third down back, more than Rachaad anyway. So he's a little bit more viable. Rachaad White is, even though it is a bad matchup for both of them. Jalen McMillan listed questionable as well for a hamstring injury. If you're relying on Jalen McMillan, which you might be, whether you had Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, or you've got some bye weeks or injuries or some combination of all of it that you're dealing with your wide receiver spots, Jalen McMillan might be a guy that's in consideration for you. If he does not go, I would grab Raheem Jarrett. It's not Sterling Shepard. It's not Trey Palmer. He's flying a little bit more under the radar. He hasn't played much this year, but he did play last week, and he did all right with the opportunity that he got, if I remember correctly. I'm just double checking this. 3 catches for 58 yards in his first game action this year. You figure his snap count would go up, not only just organically because it's his second game played this year, but if McMillan can't play, Sterling Shepard is questionable. If he can't play, if you're relying on one of these dart throw Tampa Bay wide receivers, Jalen McMillan's a little bit better than a dart throw at this point. He's more established than that. But if you have McMillan in on Monday Night Football and you don't have an alternate to go to, like a DeAndre Hopkins, a Xavier Worthy, a Bucky Irving, Raheem Jarrett would be a guy that could be like a deep dart throw. Figure he'll get more than a third of the snaps like he got last week and should see more playing time in the event McMillan can't go. Keaton Mitchell not expected to play week 9, so it's another week where Justice Hill gets to run as the primary running back behind Derrick Henry. Not a great matchup by the numbers, but it's a good offense, so Hill could give you a flex play any given week. Keaton Mitchell not expected to play this week. Chris Rodriguez was elevated to the Commanders' 53-man roster. That is not the best sign for Brian Robinson's availability tomorrow. If they hadn't elevated anybody or activated anybody, that would be a much better sign. The fact that they did does cloud his availability for tomorrow. So obviously, let's keep an eye on Brian Robinson's situation. Have a backup plan ready to go. If he is a member of if he's an option for your start sit question, my answer is going to be the same with Brian Robinson for everybody, no matter what. We just have to wait until tomorrow, and we have to wait and see if he's active or not. The fact that they did elevate a player, a running back to be specific, does add some concern to Brian Robinson's availability tomorrow. So we'll keep tabs on that one. Jonathan Brooks downgraded to out for week 9. We got good news about, that 21-day practice window was activated. We're coming up on the 21 days. I believe it was October 16th. So we're running out of time here for Jonathan Brooks. Hopefully he plays this coming week, the following week, week 10. That's the Munich game against the Giants. But if he's not activated for that game, he's going to be, I believe, just the rule is he has to be shut down for the season. So hopefully Brooks actually gets removed from the injury report next week, but we are running out of time to be optimistic about Jonathan Brooks and whatever contribution he can give us for the 2024 season. We're now pretty much hoping for the fantasy playoffs, which for a young running back is still possible, although they are a bad team going nowhere. The Panthers are, so they're not going to rush anything with Brooks either. His window for fantasy relevance, I have been I have been on I've been in on Brooks this year. The window for that to actually manifest is starting to close. It's starting to get a little smaller. So if you have Jonathan Brooks and are in need of a win, now's your time to try to sell him for a player that can help you this week. Mason Rudolph will start for the Tennessee Titans. That is good news for Calvin Ridley. Ridley remains in your lineups now as a wide receiver too. He gets more catchable targets from Mason Rudolph than he does from Will Levis. Plus, obviously, we're full steam ahead at this point. The Titans no longer have DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, Calvin Ridley should continue to command a high number of targets. Yes, he will see Christian Gonzalez for the Patriots, but that has been an up and down. Experience for New England and for Gonzalez himself. He's been up and down this year. Some weeks he's been elite, other weeks he's gotten burned. So, we'll see if it's Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde for there's your Halloween reference. Zing, even though we're a couple days past it. We'll see what we get from Christian Gonzalez and ultimately what that matchup looks like for Calvin Ridley. However, Mason Rudolph being the starting quarterback, you feel stronger about his chances to come through because he will simply have better targets than what he gets from Will Levis. Kendre Miller, this is pretty disappointing. Not that Kendre Miller he wasn't anything other than at this point, an intriguing dynasty option, maybe a best ball running back for best ball teams that were built over the summer. This was more of depth than anything else, but it's been real bad out of the gate so far for Kendre Miller. Placed on injured reserve after only just coming back from injured reserve. Will miss at least 4 games. Disappointing situation with Kendre Miller, with not really getting an opportunity, not having an opportunity because he can't stay healthy to carve out a role in that backfield. So Alvin Kamara continues to see all of the work that he can handle because on top of that, Jamal Williams is also out for the Saints tomorrow as well. I think I missed Adam Thielen also for the Panthers, in addition to Jonathan Brooks, downgraded to out for week 9. So Xavier Leggett, Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker's pretty interesting as a dart throw, but it's a dart throw. So if you have more established, more proven names, and Coker is maybe in your start-sit question, which he could be, he's quite trendy right now. No Deontay Johnson, no Adam Thielen. Deontay traded, Thielen out. Coker had, I believe, 78 yards on 4 catches last week, so he's an intriguing dart throw. I'm just gonna tell you up front, if Coker is in your start sit question and you have a maybe more proven established guy in your as one of your options, I'm probably gonna advocate for that guy as long as he's not on the injury report. Coker is intriguing though. And it's a great matchup against the Saints. So we'll consider all options. Those are the injury updates that I have. I'll keep an eye out for any others that may come down between now and the end of the show. Until then, I will get to everybody's questions. He hate me. You are killing it, my friend. I appreciate that. He hate me gifting 5 more memberships to random folks watching the show. Appreciate that. Can we get some W's in the chat for he hate me? Very generous contributions to the channel, not just today, but recently as well. Some folks getting some memberships courtesy of He Hate Me. Very generous. Appreciate that, man. I will be getting to member questions first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. So if you do happen to be one of the members recently gifted the membership, if you have a question, you can ask it again, and I'll be able to identify it as a member question. That'll make me see it a little bit faster. Again, one of the perks of being a member of the channel is getting your questions answered in priority order, and any comments responded to as well. If you send a super, I see Tyler sent one. Appreciate that, Tyler. Very generous of you as well. Appreciate it. Regular supporter of the channel in that regard. Supers will also be line jumpers. Those will get priority responses as well. And then I will get to everybody else. So I just ask for some patience as I work through the questions. I have my spot in line. I kindly ask, please do not repeat your question unless you adamantly think I missed it. I promise I have my spot in line. Don't spam the chat with multiple questions or multiple of the same question, please. Appreciate that in advance. If you are enjoying the stream, the dialogue, the engagement, and the thought process that I go into with each question, or at least try to when it feels necessary. If you're enjoying all that, whether you're a member or not, I only ask that you consider liking the stream. That's just an easy click of the button. That helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. Let me get to He Hate Me, and I can star each question as I'm going through it. So you'll know my spot in line. Members and supers aside, you'll know my spot in line. I'll have it highlighted. So if you see your question at or around the question that I'm responding to, there's a decent chance that you'll be up soon. Rachaad White, Brian Robinson Jr., or Ramondre Stevenson in full PPR. So again, with Brian Robinson's availability is currently in limbo, and it's not a great sign. It doesn't mean that he's out definitively, but it's not a great sign that they elevated Chris Rodriguez off the practice squad. That means that they are potentially preparing to not have Brian Robinson tomorrow. So we're just going to have to eyes and ears close to the ground on any update that comes out between now and kickoff. I believe that game is a 1 p.m. Eastern game, so you will have all available options to you if you need to pivot off of Brian Robinson. I would say in full PPR, if it's between Ramondre Stevenson and Rachaad White, if Brian Robinson is healthy, I think he's my answer. If he doesn't go, I would probably say Ramondre Stevenson. He is up and down. He was up last week. The simple thought process here is, while it's not the best matchup in the world against Tennessee, Rachaad White has literally the worst matchup by the numbers. Kansas City has the top run defense in the NFL. As far as fantasy, not only they're second in the NFL in rushing yards allowed per game, and from a fantasy scoring perspective, they're number one. And that's to say that's like the worst possible matchup for opposing running backs. Tennessee is not a walk in the park, but it is a more beatable matchup by the numbers than Kansas City is. So I'll say Ramondre. However, if Brian Robinson is removed from the injury report and it seems like he's going to have his normal workload, I would probably say Robinson. His matchup is better than everybody's, and had a couple of down weeks, but if he's off the injury report, he's the type of guy that I want to fire up of this group. Giants are tough through the air, but they're very beatable on the ground. So I would want Robinson if he's healthy, Ramondre if he's not. All right. Appreciate it, He Hate Me, and thank you again for the very generous gift. Appreciate that. And now I see Tyler, at least as far as, again, I'm going through members and supers first. Appreciate the support of the channel, guys. Thank you so much. And then I will get to everybody else. Reed with Jordan Love, yeah, potentially less than 100%. No Cooper, no Cooper or Chestnut. Is that Coleman? So is it Reed, Coleman, or Chestnut? I think that's the question. So Reed, obviously a little bit more concerning because of Jordan Love's potential limitations tomorrow. However, Jaden Reed is a baller. And that's probably where I would go regardless of your scoring format. He didn't really come through last week, and he's been kind of up and down. But this is a great matchup by the numbers. The Lions are incredibly difficult to run on, but you can throw on them. And at home, I would think Reed should be fine. They'll move him all over the formation. The Lions give up numbers to outside wide receivers and slot wide receivers. Jaden Reed will go in and go out. They'll move him all over the formation. Home game against a division opponent, and it's a good matchup. As long as Love is formally active, removed from the injury report, as long as we don't get any he could be, Love is going to be playing. I mean, he's probably playing less than 100%. That's why he's on the injury report. But if we get as clean a bill of health as we possibly can, Love active for week 9, off the injury report, ready to go, which I think is at this point what we can expect, I would go Jaden Reed. If there's any concerns about Love, limitations, his ability to move, anything like that, he's going to try to play, but he's going to be, well under 100% if that's the vibe that we're getting, or the reports that we're getting leading up to kickoff. If it's more pessimistic, even though he's going to play, then you can maybe consider switching to Coleman. But it seems like an optimistic outlook on Jordan Love right now, so I would operate as if I'm going to plan to start Jaden Reed. Yep, I would plan to play Jaden Reed. And if we're getting anything funky about Love's availability tomorrow or status, then we could maybe make a pivot to Coleman. I wouldn't go Chestnut. Even if Pollard is out, no disrespect to Julius Chestnut, but that might be a trap. It's not a bad matchup against New England. I don't know. I just don't know if I trust a third string running back over some more proven wide receivers. That's all. Like Jaden Reed over Julius Chestnut in a spot start. That's for me. I'm playing Jaden Reed, even if Love is less than 100%. And honestly, I might play Coleman at this point too. He's flashing some big playability. But appreciate the super, Tyler. Thank you so much. I see Jake. What's going on, Jake? You left a question in the Discord. I did see it. Do you start Myers and down? No, I'm playing Puka. I'm leaving Puka in my lineup. The report is that he's expected to play. I suggested to some folks last week, it was on the short week, it was on Thursday night, to play Puka, but there were other situations where I was like, I think I like this other guy a little bit better. And Puka should have just been the answer for everybody that brought up Puka. I don't want to make the same mistake twice. If Puka's active and the expectation is that he will be active as of right now, I'm leaving Puka Nacua in my lineup over guys like Josh Downs. I want to play Josh Downs. Josh Downs is in a good spot tomorrow, but if that means I have to take Puka out of my lineup, that's not going to happen. Now, Downs plays on Sunday Night Football, so if Puka is ultimately ruled out, you can still pivot to Downs because he won't play until after Puka's game kicks off. I'm playing Puka. If Puka's active, I'm playing Puka. For sure. Yeah. You can leave Waddle in, play Puka. If Puka's out, then you can go to Downs because Downs plays Sunday Night Football. So you're actually in a good spot. You're in decent shape. Puka if he's active, Downs if he's not. But definitely leave him in if he's active. I'm not going to worry about Puka. If Puka's active, I'm operating as if he's going to get the same amount of snaps, if not more, than last week. Yeah, I'm not. The Puka news sucked when we got it, but the reports since then have, for the most part, been positive. Sean McVay said he wouldn't bet against Puka. The most recent update we have today is that Puka is expected to play. I think we're okay here. The vibes right now, as of today, 20 hours before kickoff, is that he's fine. Or he's at least good enough to suit up. So I'm playing Puka. All right. Those are the member and super questions that I have so far. Appreciate it again to He Hate Me. W's in the chat for He Hate Me. Gift very generous, continuing to donate out some memberships for some lucky folks in the chat. And then Tyler as well for the super. Thank you. I'm going to get back up to the top now. As I see any more member or questions or supers, I will jump down to them, but I will keep my spot in line. Fear not. I will make sure to get to everybody. And we'll sort out your starting lineup. DJ Moore or Amari Cooper? Moore has the Cardinals on the road. Cooper is home against the Dolphins. And on the injury report, I don't think DJ Moore's on the injury report. Cooper's currently questionable with a wrist injury. I think we can expect him to play. He did absolutely nothing last week, even though his snap percentage went up from week 7 to week 8, but he got absolutely nothing going. I would rather play Moore. I know he didn't do anything last week either. 2 catches for 27 yards, hasn't broken 30 yards receiving 3 of his last 4 games, but he's a big play waiting to happen. This is a matchup that should be in his favor in the desert. Good matchup by the numbers, and also I think it's, as long as we get the good Bears offense and not the bad Bears offense, we can expect some points to be scored in this game. I would go more over Cooper, especially since Cooper's on the injury report. Chicago or Seattle defense. I don't feel great about Seattle's defense right now, having to go against the Rams. And the Bears are on the road against the Cardinals. I don't really like either of those units, to be completely honest. I'm trying to think who's maybe worth it. The Bengals stink, but they're playing the Raiders at home. Could you pick up the Titans? They have the Patriots at home. Drake May has been better than Jacoby Brissett, but that's still an offense that's not a bad target for fantasy purposes. Could you grab somebody like the Titans? I don't really like either of those teams. I don't really want to bet on either of those defenses. If you have to pick between one of those two, I guess I would pick Seattle just because they're at home. But I'm not crazy about either one. It's not a good matchup for Seattle. And the Bears are not only in, less than ideal matchup by the numbers, but they're on the road. I don't feel super confident about that one. Could you take if the Titans are available? At least they're playing the Patriots at home. I maybe would try my luck there. Something like that. And then Herbert or Kyler. Herbert's got the Chargers have the Browns. Kyler's got the Bears at home. I mean, I'll go Kyler. He didn't run a whole lot last week, but he finally had like a 300-yard passing game, multiple passing score game. It's not a great matchup but by the numbers, but he is at home, and I know he didn't do it last week, but he's always a threat to run. Herbert, not as much. Herbert's playing. I will say this about Justin Herbert. He is playing well. And I feel like that's kind of getting overshadowed a little bit right now because the Chargers offense is kind of blah as a whole. But Justin Herbert is playing good NFL football. He's playing well. What did he do last week? I know he had a couple of scores to Lad the Dad McConkey. 200. That was against the New Orleans Saints. 279 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for by far a season high last week in 49 rushing yards. I'm not chasing that. I'm not chasing that one for Herbert. 49 rushing yards last week. His previous season high to that point was 18, and he hasn't cleared 10 yards rushing in any other game other than that one. So I'm not going to chase that one. Not on the road against Cleveland, especially after his performance came in a Swiss cheese defense, the New Orleans Saints. I'll play Kyler. He can run. Herbert did run. Herbert can run, but doesn't frequently. Not enough. Kyler does it at a higher rate. I'll go Kyler. Bigsby, Hopkins, Pittman, or Sutton in full PPR. Do we have what's the latest on ETN? Is he just questionable again? Is he just going to be, regularly weekly listed questionable? Yeah, questionable alongside Tank Bigsby. And that's not a great matchup against the Eagles. Bigsby himself is on the injury report. I didn't realize that. With the ankle injury. It's not a great matchup against the Eagles, so I'm not really feeling that. I think my answer is Sutton and Pittman. I mean, Pittman gets a boost with Joe Flacco being the starting quarterback for the Colts, and Cortland Sutton is getting the Baltimore Ravens, which, believe it or not, is one of the best matchups for opposing passing games in the NFL. And coming into the season, the Denver Broncos going on the road to play the Baltimore Ravens looked like a mismatch on paper as far as the offense versus the defense, but it might not be. Running the ball, yeah, the Broncos are going to have a hard time, but throwing the football, I don't think they're going to have that difficult of a time because nobody has had a difficult time, and Bo Nix is playing well. Give me Pittman, give me Sutton. Hopkins, I think he still has something left in the tank, but it's only his second game with his new team. And he's been, for the most part, kind of quiet this year. Let's maybe give it another week for Hopkins. And then Bigsby on the injury report in a bad matchup. No thanks. I'll take Pittman. I'll take Sutton here. I like their situations. Cade Otton or TJ Hawkinson, I'll take Otton. Hawkinson is, we're excited that he's going to be able to make he is making his debut this week, right? I believe that is the case. His 2024 debut anyway. It's his first game back, having suffered a torn ACL. It's a great matchup. Doesn't have an injury designation. This is great news for Hawkinson. I don't know if I want to throw him out there just yet, especially if I have an option like Cade Otton, who has been balling out and will continue to get as much of a workload, as many looks in the passing game as he can handle, given the Bucs wide receiver situation for another week. I mean, Otton might get, what did he have last week? I know he had like 24 half PPR fantasy. He had a ridiculous week. Otton did. I don't know if he's going to necessarily replicate those numbers, but it's a good matchup. It's a good matchup by the numbers. He had 10 targets, 9 catches, 81 yards. He has 20 targets the past 2 weeks combined. Week 7 and week 8. That is the game dating back to week 7. That is the game that Mike Evans left early due to injury, and Godwin played most of that game, but eventually was forced out after he suffered his season-ending injury. Those 2 weeks, Cade Otton has 20 targets combined, 17 catches combined, 181 receiving yards combined. He didn't catch a touchdown week 7, but he caught 2 of them last week. Cade Otton is a top 3 tight end play tomorrow, Monday night against Kansas City. Let's give it a week on TJ Hawkinson. Cade Otton should probably be in every starting lineup. The only 2 tight ends I would start over Cade Otton this weekend are Brock Bowers and George Kittle. That's it. I would play Brock Bowers. I would play George Kittle. And then I would play Cade Otton. And that's it. End of list. Those are the only 2 tight ends I would play over Cade Otton, are Bowers and Kittle. Otton needs to be in starting lineups. He needs to be the starting tight end for your team if you have him. That's where I'm at with Cade Otton. I see a member question. What's going on, Armando? I believe you are now a member courtesy of He Hate Me's generous donation. So congratulations, and also welcome in. Welcome in as a member officially. And what's going on, Derek? Good to see you as well. Dak or Jordan Love? I would go Dak here, Armando. This is a scenario where I have a quarterback who is a viable, healthy pivot to Jordan Love. Love being less than 100%. He should be fine tomorrow, and it is a good matchup by the numbers, but the fact that he's operating potentially less than 100%, I'll take the healthy guy in Dak. Good matchup by the numbers. High point total expected in this game. Vegas set the line at, I believe, 51.5. So we're expecting some points in this game. I think Dak figured something out last week. Throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and good things will happen. So he pretty much just needs that he pretty much needs Lamb to come through, and then whatever else he does is gravy. They will throw the ball in all likelihood more tomorrow. Ezekiel Elliott is inactive, and they haven't run the ball with a whole lot of success anyway. I would go Dak. I expect some passing yards in that game. So I would go Dak. And as far as Baker, Geno, Love, so again, I do think Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield has been so freaking good this year. It's a less than ideal matchup for Baker. He's been good, though. But of course, now Jalen McMillan is questionable for this game. Sterling Shepard is questionable for this game. So, like, how much more can Baker come through with more, with such a kind of skeleton crew of options right now? They're going to have to throw the ball. Baker this year has been the QB2, the QB5. He was the QB27 in week 3. Not a good week. But since then, weeks 4 through 8, QB3, QB7, QB2, QB2, QB7. He's been a QB1 all year. I like Geno's matchup. And obviously, Baker is dicey given the injuries at receiver, but he delivered last week with a skeleton crew of receivers. It's a good matchup for Geno, but he's down DK Metcalf. And Love himself is injured. I'm going to play Baker. Armando. He's the healthy one here. Well, Geno's healthy, but DK Metcalf is not. So that's the even playing field as far as Baker versus Geno. And then Baker versus Geno versus Love. Love is on the injury report. And while we can have some optimism about him tomorrow, you have viable pivots. So I would go with the pivots. I would go with Dak, and I would go with Baker. Baker's been a damn stud. He's been a top 10 quarterback every week this year except for one, and he's been a top 3 quarterback at least twice. I think it's been more than that. I literally just rattled off the finishes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he's been a top 5 quarterback 5 times. I'm going Baker. I am driving that car until the wheels fall off. Until Baker gives us reason to move off of him, even with this skeleton crew of receivers. He's coming through. He was the QB7 last week. Throwing the ball to K. Dotton, Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, and Raheem Jarrett. Who, by the way, again, I will repeat myself. I should have put something out about this earlier this week. It's been a busy week for me, so I didn't get a chance to put a video out. But, like, your super, super deep sleeper for me, that big-time dart throw, is Raheem Jarrett. Because not only is McMillan on the injury report, but Sterling Shepard is as well. Baker's going to turn everybody into a valuable fantasy commodity. Yep. And yes, sir, no problem for the advice. Back up to the top. What's going on, MVM? I know that you've supported the channel as well, so appreciate that. Trade Jonathan Taylor for Drake London. If you are, yeah, sure. I hope you have some really good options because Taylor's a stud. But so is Drake London. London's, it's a stud running back for a stud wide receiver. If you can weather that storm, if you've got 4 other, I would hope you have 4. You need at least 3 running backs to rely on, like season long. But I would hope you have 4. If you have, like, after you trade Taylor and acquire London, if you are strong at running back and really need a receiver and this is on the table for you, then sure. Yeah, it makes your team better. Yeah. A lot of times with trades, it's not about did I win the trade. It's did I make my team better. If you are trading from a position of strength and strengthening a position of weakness, and that's what this trade does, then yeah, I would do it. You're making your team better. And that's what a trade is about. It's not about winning the trade. It's about making your team better. Though they're not mutually exclusive. So yeah, I'm on board with this. London's been really good. Taylor's been good when healthy, but he's missed some time. So yeah, I'm on board with this. I'm with it. I like that trade. It addresses an issue. For your team, so I'm with it. Don Mack, thank you for the super, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support for the channel. I'm not firing up May over somebody like Darnold or Stafford. I quite like Darnold this week. It's a great matchup against the Colts. Indianapolis is they're bottom 10 in the NFL in passing yards allowed. I think they're around that same rank as far as fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks. Yeah, like they're 22nd, 21st, 23rd, depending on your scoring. It's a favorable matchup. Darnold has been a top 15 quarterback or better 5 of his 7 games played, and 3 of those games he's been top 10. I mean, that's pretty consistent, and he's at home. Let's see. When Darnold is at home, he's been no worse than the QB 13 any week this year. And that doesn't include the Jets game because that was in London. The Vikings were the designated home team, but it wasn't a real home game. This is a good matchup on paper. I would play Darnold. Stafford is intriguing. I obviously tossed 4 touchdowns last week and has Kupp and Puka back. But he is on the road, and it is a division matchup. And so that would be like the difference for me here. Division games are weird. No more. I don't think anybody needs any more explanation needed there. But if in the event, I mean, division games are weird. These are teams that know each other a little bit better than they know the rest of the league. Weirder things happen in division games. Stafford on the road versus Darnold at home in a good matchup where he's not been anything worse than the QB 13 this year. I'll take Darnold. Certainly over May. The question is honestly Darnold versus Stafford, and I'll take Darnold. At home, good matchup. Stafford, good matchup by the numbers, but it's a division opponent on the road. So I'll take Darnold. And then as far as Sutton, Reed, Tillman, or Ramondre, is Ramondre on the injury report? I should know this. No, he's not. He is not. It's been a roller coaster season for Ramondre. He's got 3 games where he was the RB5 on the week. That's a wild stat. He was specifically the RB5 on the week. Interesting. He's done that 3 times. He's been outside the top 43 times. So he's kind of all over the map, Ramondre Stevenson is. This is not a great matchup by the numbers. And he's been worse on the road this year than he has been at home. But I think Drake May coming back boosts it makes this offense a little bit better. I think I lean Ramondre. It's a roller coaster. You might be getting an all or nothing situation with Ramondre Stevenson, but he's off the injury report. I think Gibson is on the injury report. So like sometimes just volume is king. No, Gibson was cleared. He was on the injury report, but he returned to practice on Friday and was removed. And that's okay. That's fine. I think I go Ramondre here. I get he's difficult to trust, but he's fully healthy and he will get all of the work. Or he'll get most of the work. And then between Tillman, Sutton, Sutton, Reed. I believe heavily in Jaden Reed. I do. Tillman obviously coming off an outstanding game. Volume is incredibly safe. The Browns are throwing the ball a lot. They're playing the Chargers. Not the best matchup on paper, but it is a home game for Tillman, so you feel fine about him. I think I would rule Sutton out of this group. It's a great matchup, but obviously we are still relying on an offense in Denver that is not total. It's like how much do you believe in the Broncos yet? Like this will be a bit of a test for them on the road. West Coast team coming east. So I would rule Sutton out from this specific group. I think my answer is Reed. Unless you're if you yourself are concerned with Love's being on the injury report, then you can go with Tillman perfectly fine. Tillman has clearly emerged and will likely operate as wide receiver 1 for the Browns rest of season, but Jaden Reed is already that for the Packers. And he has a much better matchup by the numbers than Tillman does. I think I say Reed. I'll go Darnold over Stafford over May. And then I will say Ramondre for the volume, and I'll say Jaden Reed because ball. A little bit more. Tillman is as well, but not as good of a matchup. Reed has a better matchup, and Love is expected to play. Sutton, good matchup. Road game. I'll believe in the Broncos fully if they come through in this game, but I'm not 100% there quite yet. Give me Ramondre. Give me Jaden Reed. Appreciate the super, Don. Thank you. Let me know if you need anything else. I'm getting through my member questions again. If for anybody just joining, or maybe you missed my regular spiel, members get first priority. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions answered in priority order, followed by supers, followed by everybody else. But I will get to your questions. I see them. I did not miss them. Just asking for some patience as I work through the questions. Appreciate your patience in advance. Wilson did ball out. Yeah, we had to start Garrett Wilson on Thursday night. Wasn't expecting a 2-touchdown performance and a catch of the year candidate, but Garrett Wilson proved he's that dude. Reminded us that he's that dude. I think it's fair to say he reminded us. There was a stretch where it was like, what's going on with Garrett Wilson? But turns out he's fine. T. Higgins worries me because the Bengals are not good and they need to start winning some games. T. Higgins is holding out for a contract next year, and if he's injured, he's not going to get the money that he's hoping to get. You could argue, yeah, he needs to be on the field and playing and performing to get that money, but I think it's fair to say at this point, we know when healthy T. Higgins is a good player, and if the Bengals season spirals out and they're not playing for a playoff spot, I wouldn't be surprised to see T. Higgins start to kind of shut it down and look to 2025 for a new contract. He feels like you can't trade him now, but if he gets healthy and puts up a good performance, like say in week 10 next week, but if the Bengals lose these next couple of games, Higgins coming off of a good game would be a sell candidate for me. If the Bengals season continues to, go downhill. If they're not playing for anything, I don't know that I would want to trust T. Higgins when it's time for the fantasy playoffs. Just throwing that out there. This year is different. This year's different. He may preserve himself for his next contract. Judy, Tracy, or Deontay. Tracy, we got to go with the Giants RB1. Tyrone Tracy is the Giants RB1, and happy for him. He cleared concussion protocol very quickly. Hopefully he's okay, like in real life, long term, all of that. But he's going to be active. He cleared concussion protocol really fast. You tend to see players miss a week due to concussions. Tracy went into concussion protocol last week, cleared protocol quickly. He appears to be okay. He figures to be in line to start for the Giants. He has been pacing ahead of Devin Singletary multiple weeks running now. If he's off the injury report, and I believe he is, there's no reason to believe that won't continue. No reason to believe that won't continue. Give me Tyrone Tracy from that group. I'd rather not trust Deontay Johnson this week if you don't have to. I do not know what that situation looks like for him as far as his involvement. John Harbaugh said that he's ready to contribute. That could mean anything. That could mean anything. But yeah, let's go with Tyrone Tracy here. All right. Those are the member questions that I see. Those are the supers that I've gotten through the supers so far. I appreciate everybody's support so far that has run through. It's time to get back up to the top. I have my spot in line. I got this trade question. This is where I left off. I say yes, do it. Chase Brown, is Zach Moss officially out? I mean, he's doubtful, so that generally is the direction that those designations go. Doubtful. He's still listed doubtful, but he's not going to play. It's a good matchup for Chase Brown against the Raiders. Yeah, I would play him over I would play him over Dobbins. Dobbins is on the road against Cleveland. He should be okay, but it's a tougher matchup. Chase Brown at home against the Raiders with the backfield to himself. I'll take Chase Brown. I'll take Chase Brown. Yeah. Great. Good matchup. Really good matchup. Dobbins, not as strong of a matchup on the road. I'll take Chase Brown. Coleman, Dobbs, Tillman, Leggett, McMillan. I wouldn't wait on McMillan given that these are your other options since he's on the injury report on Monday Night Football. So let's scratch McMillan from these options. I think I go Tillman from this group. I like Dobbs. I like Tillman. I mean, I like Coleman, but his usage is going to be a little sporadic as Cooper continues to get worked into the offense. Although if he's out tomorrow, then that makes Keon Coleman like way more interesting. Leggett, I want to believe in, but he's catching the ball. It is a great matchup for him as well, but he's catching the ball from Bryce Young. I don't know how much I trust that week to week. I think my answer here right now is Dobbs and Tillman. Tillman's usage is really good. The matchup isn't great, but he's at home. He should be fine from a usage perspective. And Dobbs has been real ever since Dobbs had that like disciplinary issue where he was suspended for a game. He was like conduct detrimental to the team. I mean, ever since then, Dobbs has been pretty good. He had 2 touchdowns the very next week. He had 8 for 94 the week after. And then last week, only 3 catches, but he did turn it into 72 yards. Like, it could be worse. I'll take Dobbs and I'll take Tillman. Reed, Myers, Hubbard. Myers has the Cincinnati Bengals, so that's a really good matchup. Chuba has the Saints, and Jonathan Brooks didn't get activated. So you got to go with Chuba Hubbard. Got to go Hubbard. I still believe in a guy like Jaden Reed. I know he's had an up and down season, but he's a good football player. And this feels like a smash spot for him. The Lions beatable matchup, a very gettable matchup through the air. Not on the ground, but through the air. You can beat the Detroit Lions. I think Jaden Reed at home should have a nice day, should have a nice game. Myers on the road, caught 2 touchdowns last week, will continue to operate as the team's number 1 wide receiver. But those factors make me like him a little less than a guy like Jaden Reed. Hubbard has to be in against the New Orleans. Start your running backs against the New Orleans Saints. Start all of them. And with no Jonathan Brooks, we feel fine about Chuba against New Orleans. And this is a defense question. The Ravens should be fine. The Lions are difficult to trust in a tough matchup against Green Bay, but they are a good enough defense to come through for you. They're talented up front. I would probably play the Titans from this group. They get New England at home. And Drake May offers some extra oomph to the Patriots offense, but he's still a rookie working with an overall difficult to trust supporting cast, and the offensive line is not good. Tennessee's got a solid front. I would play the Titans. I would play the Titans against the Patriots. That's where I would go. That's where I would go. I see another member question from Jake, so let me just run through who do I have waiting for me before I get to Jake's question. HD, James, Blue Jays, Jose, I see your questions. T-Man, sit tight. Appreciate y'all's patience. I see your questions. I will get to them, but I got another member question down below that I got to get to. We're going to address that now. Stafford or Darnold? I'll go Darnold. Darnold in a good matchup at home. Stafford, it's a good matchup by the numbers, but it's a division game and he's on the road. Plus Puka. Puka should be fine, but he is on the injury report. So, splitting hairs. I'll take Darnold, and he gets Hawkinson back at home. Good matchup. I'll take Sam Darnold. And then Waddle versus Myers. It's understandable to want to go Myers. I get it. Myers has been a little bit better, but Waddle is the more talented player. Myers has been good. He's been a top 15 receiver the past couple of weeks, past month, actually. Myers is the floor play. Waddle is the aggressive play. He's the better player, but that hasn't materialized this year. Waddle has not. He hasn't really broken through. He had a good game week 1, and he hasn't been good since then. That being said, I do think he's the more talented player. Myers is the floor play. If you think you need to be aggressive, if you're an underdog, then I would play Waddle. Myers has been, for what it's worth, a top 15 receiver, though, for the past month. So if you want to ride that, and there's nothing scary about the matchup against Cincinnati. So if you want to ride that momentum, then Myers. If you want to bet on the better player, I would say Waddle. Hey, what's going on, David? I see another one of my members jumping in here. So again, I have my spot in line. I see everybody's questions. Appreciate y'all's patience, but I got to get to my members first. Baker and Worthy to get London. Yeah, in a vacuum. I mean, I don't know. Who's your other quarterback, David? I don't remember. If you've got like Dak, I think you maybe have Dak. I mean, in a one quarterback league, I'm totally fine with moving off of a QB2 if you have one to upgrade at wide receiver. Baker's been awesome. He has been incredible. If you have both Baker and Dak, if Dak and Xavier Worthy isn't going to get it done to get Drake London, and I assume it won't, but you can do it for Baker and Xavier Worthy, I would do that. I think London has been London's been really good recently, and I don't see any reason to believe that that'll change. Yes, I would do that. Assuming you need a wide receiver, you could add, it makes it a little bit easier to set your starting wide receivers each week. And London is a guy that you kind of just fire into your starting lineup at each week, and you don't worry about it. You don't worry about it coming off. You feel good coming off a good week, and you don't worry about him coming off a bad week. You just keep him in there. Yeah, I would be okay with this. Baker's been awesome, and he will get Mike Evans back in time for the stretch run in the fantasy playoffs. But if you can upgrade at wide receiver in a way like you are here, then I would do that. You can ask for somebody back in the trade if you would like, if you can make it happen. If you can get either Stroud or Goff, that's fine. I'm okay with also just not rostering a second quarterback. That's my preference. I would rather keep that roster spot open and pick up either another running back or another wide receiver. But if if you want to operate with a QB2, that's fine. I don't advocate for that. I like to roster one quarterback in one quarterback leagues, and I'll figure things out later if I have to. But if you can get a QB back in the deal to make it an even 2 for 2, then that's fine. Goff or Stroud. I guess I prefer Stroud just like based on potential upside, although he has had a down year this year. But he gets Nico Collins back soon, so that certainly helps. If you can make it happen, then great. I don't need a QB2 in return, though, because you already have a quarterback. But to get London, yes, I'm on board with that trade. I'm on board with that. All right. Appreciate it, David. Let me know if you need anything else. Any other members as well. Let me know if you need anything else. And I will jump down and get to it. But I have my spot in line. Full PPR. Devontae Smith, Chase Brown, James Conner. If this is only start one, I would play Chase Brown. He's got the backfield to himself against the Raiders. He's a top 10 play this week. Assuming Zach Moss is out, and it's looking like he's going to be out. He hasn't been ruled out yet, but he's listed as doubtful. And T. Higgins is out for what it's worth. So somebody's going to need to pick up the slack. If Chase Brown catches a couple of dump-offs as a result of Burrow needing to look for third, fourth, and fifth options with no T. Higgins in the lineup, Brown's floor goes even higher, especially in full PPR. I would play Chase Brown. Great matchup. Backfield to himself. I would play Chase Brown. These are all good options to have, but if you can only play one, Chase Brown is a top 10 play this week. Uh, Titans or Saints. I mean, in theory, the Titans defense or the Saints defense should be fine, but the Saints defense is not good. At least the Titans have a solid front. Jeffrey Simmons is a beast. So I'll take the Titans against a Patriots offensive line that I believe is allowing the second most sacks in the NFL. I forget who's first. It might be Cleveland, but a lot of that might have to do with Deshaun Watson, who is now out. The Patriots offensive line is not good. Drake May looks solid, but on the road, this is not a great spot for him. I'll stream the Titans defense. The Titans are probably a top 5 play at defense this week. They are a very good stream for anybody who has a defense question. The Titans are an elite play. The Titans are an elite play. I got to double check to see if they're available in my league. I might go pick them up. Flowers, Shakir, or Tillman. So Flowers, you're getting a lot of all or nothing performances this year from Flowers. Shakir's usage is up and down. And like, how much does Deontay play and therefore cut into Flowers? I'll say Tillman of this group. Tillman has the safest usage, I think. Tillman's usage is currently safer than Zay Flowers. Until we see things materialize and how much Deontay is involved in this offense, you figure he's going to be a starter moving forward once he's fully acclimated. They didn't trade for him for nothing. Flowers' ceiling is capped, and he's already like a boom bust wide receiver. He's all or nothing, and he's only got 1 touchdown on the year. Tillman has 2 just last week. Tillman's usage is the safest of these 3. I'll play Tillman. Would I start Taysom over Laporta at tight end? No. It's a good matchup. Laporta caught a touchdown last week, and Jamison Williams is out once again. Is it going to rain? It's going to. I was like, what is have we turned the corner with weather conditions yet in Green Bay, Wisconsin? I was like, is it snowing yet there? It totally could be. I'm now seeing that there are potential 17-mile-per-hour winds and an 84% chance of rain in Green Bay tomorrow. I gotta kill the Weather Channel right now. This tab is slowing my computer down. Okay. The rain in Green Bay and the wind is now officially, making me concerned about, for everybody that I told to fire up Jayden Reed. I would maybe consider pivoting off of Jayden Reed now officially, and any of the Packers wide receivers, given these weather conditions that we're potentially dealing with in Green Bay. If you had a question about Jayden Reed or Romeo Doubs, I would knock them down a peg now. I would knock, now that we know, I just happened, I was like, is it snowing in Green Bay yet? The weather is not looking good there right now. Yeah. Okay. You can play Taysom over Laporta. I don't think there's any weather concerns in Carolina or in Charlotte. Nah, it's nice. 68 and sunny in Charlotte. Yeah, you can play Taysom Hill over Laporta. As wild as that is, the rain and wind, you have to play Amon-Ra St. Brown, but that's about it. Yeah, you can play Taysom Hill over Laporta. Not because I like Hill over Laporta pound for pound, but the weather in Green Bay tomorrow is not looking great. Yeah, I'll play Taysom. All right. And I see somebody down here. Just real quick. Appreciate this was also rain in Green Bay. Yeah. That's a little dicey. Rain and weather's a little dicey. So let's keep tabs on what that looks like tomorrow. Um, you know, we'll look for weather updates in Green Bay to see if anything improves or changes. So yeah, Taysom is fine. A rank team. I'm gonna do this quickly because it's not a traditional start sit question, and these can take a little extra time. Um, Caleb Williams is he's up and down. You know, you'll get QB 1 weeks, you're gonna get QB 2 weeks. So he's inconsistent at the position. Running backs are have been good to this point. They're both on the injury report right now, so potentially be prepared to pivot. Wide receivers are solid. Yeah, I wouldn't make any changes here. And Njoku being off the injury report helps. Yeah, I mean you have the correct pieces in for tomorrow, for this week. Caleb should be fine this week in a plus matchup, but he has been inconsistent this year. But he should be fine tomorrow. He should be fine against Arizona. He should be fine against Arizona. And yes, I would play Njoku over Laporta, Armando. Yes, I would play Njoku over Laporta regardless. But the weather is officially a concern in Green Bay tomorrow. But Njoku's off the injury report and should command a high target share. Yep. Njoku over Laporta for sure. Let's see. I don't see that you're the system doesn't have you listed as a subscriber, but if you are set up for that, let me know. It doesn't look like, yeah, there's a little icon next to your name. If you are, it should show up. If you are interested in becoming a sub though, those details are in the first link in the description of the stream. But appreciate the support. Deontay, Rico, or Tank Bigsby. I would go Rico Dowdle. Give me Uncle Rico. Ezekiel Elliott didn't travel with the Cowboys and is inactive for disciplinary reasons. Whatever happened there. Deontay, don't know how much he's going to play. Bigsby, he's questionable in a bad matchup. My phone's trying to talk to me. Get out of here. We don't know how involved Deontay's going to be, and Bigsby's in a bad matchup plus on the injury report. Rico. Give me Rico Dowdle. I think he's a strong RB2 play. Maybe not top 15, but I think he's a top 20 option tomorrow at running back with Ezekiel Elliott being out. Yep. Give me Rico. Trey McBride, Pollard, or Rachaad White. Or wait, Terry McBride, Pollard, Rachaad White? Is that what it is? I mean, McBride is a top 5 tight end play. I'd be curious to know who your starting tight end is, unless you don't need to start a tight end and this is just a flex option for you. I don't like starting 2 tight ends, but Trey McBride is a top 5 play at the tight end position. So I would be curious to know who your starter is. I mean, McLaurin against the Giants is really good. Pollard is on the injury report. If he plays, I guess I would say Pollard, but we don't know if he's going to play. Questionable for week 9 is Tony Pollard. If Pollard plays, that's my answer. If he's out, I would probably play Terry McLaurin, although Trey McBride is a top 5 tight end play. I just don't like playing 2 tight ends. I am curious to know who's in your tight end spot. I'd be curious to know who's in your tight end spot. But Pollard, if he plays. Dobbins, Stevenson, or Tracy? Kind of like Tracy, actually. Tracy against Washington. Actually, they've been playing better recently. Washington started the year off on defense poorly, and since then they've been really good. Still, I don't dislike Tracy tomorrow. Dobbins is going to get all the work, but it's not a great matchup against Cleveland on the road. Ramondre, on the road against Tennessee. If you can only play one of these guys, Dobbins had a decent week last week. That was against New Orleans. This is a tougher matchup on the road against the Browns. But he's been a top 15 running back or better 4 times this year. He's never been worse than the RB39, which is obviously not ideal, but the fact that he's not losing you any games or any matchups. Dobbins. Tracy has the much better matchup and popped last week to the tune of an RB4 overall finish on the week. Hell yeah, Tyrone Tracy. But Dobbins has been pretty steady, pretty rock solid. I lean Dobbins. I lean Dobbins. And I didn't skip you. Sorry if you thought so, but I didn't skip you. Your question might be right next to somebody else's. Your chat might look a little different than somebody else's. Like your question might show up just before or just after somebody else. I'm just getting to them as I see them, but making sure I get everybody. I know I appreciate everybody's patience. I know that some people have to wait a little bit. What do I think of Courtland Sutton this week? I think he's going to be fine. I think he's a strong wide receiver 3. It's a great matchup. The Baltimore Ravens are giving up so much production to opposing wide receivers, to opposing passing offenses in general. So he's a strong wide receiver 3 play this week. I don't know who your other options are, but Sutton is absolutely viable. The Baltimore Ravens, of all defenses, you can't run on them, but throw on them. You can throw on them. You can have all types of success through the air against the Baltimore Ravens. So yeah, Sutton should be fine. It's a great matchup. You don't say that a lot about the Baltimore defense, but through the air, you can beat them. Everybody has so far this year. Let's see. You have Brian Robinson in there now. You have Dobbins, Hubbard. Of this group, if Robinson can play, I would play Robinson. But if he can't, I think I would actually play Chuba Hubbard here. The New Orleans Saints are awful on defense against the run, and they have multiple injuries just across the board. I don't think Lattimore's playing, and I know he's a defensive back, but he's one of their better players on defense. If they're that thin all across the board, it just makes things easier for everybody else everywhere, no matter what. They're getting killed on the ground. It's a home game. It's a revenge game for Carolina. I don't know if that means they're going to win the game because they don't have a ton of talent, but they are going to come into this game probably a little pissed off because they got boat raced by the Saints in week 1. I got to think they come with a little bit of fight tomorrow, the Panthers. I don't know if that means they're going to win the game, but I'll take Chuba. Jonathan Brooks didn't get activated. Jonathan Brooks did not get activated. Chuba's going to have this backfield to himself, and it is a run funnel Saints defense. You don't trust the Panthers offense, but you trust any running back against the Saints defense. That's where I'm at. We got another. This is another, I believe, member as a result of He Hate Me's generous donation. Is this is a meal? I hope I'm saying that correctly, but congratulations on getting gifted a membership and welcome aboard. You're worried about Mike Evans' injury when he comes back. And real quick, before I get too far away, I know there are a lot of folks in here that are patiently waiting to have their questions answered. Where am I at? Hang on. I know where I'm at. Sheldo, John, Chris. I think Sport Dog, you had another question. There's another question from John A. the Beast. I see all your questions. Appreciate your patience. I'm going to get to everybody. I got to get to my members first, though. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. But appreciate everybody's patience. I will get to everybody. Would I trade Mike Evans for DJ Moore? Straight up. It depends on your situation. Do you need wins now? Then yes. Are you sitting pretty? Are you in good shape? And you can wait on Mike Evans for your playoff run? I would do that. I understand being concerned, and if what I'm about to tell you doesn't encourage you about Mike Evans, then that's totally fine. Move forward as if you want, or move forward as you choose to move forward. It is your team at the end of the day. I would bet on Mike Evans because we were given a definitive timeline. Has anything updated about Mike Evans? I got to charge my phone. Have we received any new updates about Mike Evans and his return to play? He's not playing this week. He's not playing next week. And then it's the Bucs bye week. So we do have to wait a little bit of time for Mike Evans. No, we haven't received anything new. MRI confirms wide receiver will be out will be out at least 4 weeks. He could return week 12 against the Giants. I would bet on Mike Evans because Mike Evans is a proven stud. And if you make it to championship week, he gets Carolina week 17. That's about as favorable a matchup as you can get when you're competing for a championship. If you need wins now, then yes, I would trade for DJ Moore. If you don't need wins now and you have good pieces to get you through this stretch without Mike Evans, and you can wait on Evans to come back for your playoff run, for your championship run, if you're 6-2 or 5-3, but you've scored a lot of points, maybe you're even 7-1. If you're at the top of your league, I would wait. I would hold on Mike Evans. If you need wins now, if you're like 500 and maybe you're hovering around the playoff race, but you're maybe on the outside looking in, or you're worse, you're 3-5. Hopefully you're not 2-6, but if you are and you're still competing, you're still going for it, but you need somebody to help you win games now, then yes, trade Mike Evans for DJ Moore. But if you don't need wins now, I would hold. Because Mike Evans is that type of wide receiver one that I want to believe in, especially since Chris Godwin is out for the year. So let me know what your situation is, and I can give you some final definitive thoughts. Sport Dog, I got this question. I would go Chuba Hubbard if Brian Robinson can't play against the Saints. Hell yeah. Are you crazy to play Bo Nix over Jordan Love? No, you're not. And in fact, given the fact that we're dealing with some potential bad weather in Green Bay tomorrow, I think I would just go ahead and do this. It's a great matchup by the numbers for Bo Nix. And Bo Nix is playing well right now. Not only are the Baltimore Ravens giving up a ton of production to opposing passing games, but Bo Nix is playing well. Baltimore's last in the league right now in passing yards allowed per game. Worse than Jacksonville. Worse than New Orleans. Worse than Carolina. Worse than Tampa Bay, who's had a lot of injuries in the secondary throughout the year, and therefore their numbers are not good. Baltimore's getting cooked by opposing passing offenses. And Love is on the injury report, and now it's been brought, it's noticed it, brought to my attention, but also like it dawned on me, like, are we snowing in Green Bay yet? We're not, but it's raining there this weekend and tomorrow with 17-mile-per-hour winds. So I don't know that I necessarily want to worry about the Packers passing game tomorrow. Bo Nix over Jordan Love is perfectly fine. Is totally fine. I'm good with that. I'm good with Bo Nix over Jordan Love. Yep. Stevenson, Tillman, Dubs, or Smith and Jigba. This is start one. I would go Ramondre Stevenson and just bank on the volume. Unless it's full PPR, then Cedric Tillman has an argument here. Romeo Dubs is out for me because of the weather concerns in Green Bay. And Smith and Jigba, it's a good matchup, but like he didn't come through last half out. am I going to keep going back to the well with him when I have other options that I feel a little bit better about? No, I'm not. I'll take Stevenson in standard or half PPR scoring. If it's full PPR, I might switch to Tillman. Dobbs out because of the weather. They could be fine. These guys could be fine. They're obviously professionals, but rain and 17-mile-per-hour winds makes your job harder when you have to get open and catch a football. It's just that's just the nature of the beast, the reality of the situation. I'll take Stevenson in standard or half PPR scoring. I'll take Tillman in full PPR. Depends on your scoring. Achane and Gibbs at running back, right call. CD at wide receiver, right call. You know, wide receiver and a flex from Olave, Jaden Reed, McConkey, Pittman, Connor. Olave gets Derek Carr back, and they play the Panthers. So I would probably go Olave. It's between, and then after that, Connor gets the Bears, but it's a home game, and Connor's been good this year. These are some good options to have. These are good players. I'll say Olave and Connor. Pittman is an intriguing play because he gets Flacco in as his quarterback, but he's been up and down this year. McConkey went nuts last week and has emerged as Justin Herbert's, top wide receiver. However, they are healthy this week. They are more healthy this week than they have been for a little while. Quentin Johnston, I believe, is off the injury report. DJ Chark is off the injury report. Their tight ends are off the injury report. And it's a tough matchup against Cleveland by the numbers. So while I still like Lad the Dad McConkey, I'll take Olave and Connor over him this week. And that goes Jaden Reed as well with the weather concerns in Green Bay. My answers to any questions about Jaden Reed have updated. The weather is officially a concern. Rain, 16, 17 mile per hour winds, and Jordan Love on the injury report. If it was a nice day, if the weather was fine, if it was expected in Green Bay tomorrow, I wouldn't be as worried about him. But the fact that that's a situation to monitor, the weather plus Love's injury, I am knocking Reed down a couple of tiers, or at least one tier. So give me Olave, give me Connor as your wide receiver and flex. You're planning on using Caleb for Jordan Love. That's fine. While Caleb Williams is hard to give like a firm stamp of approval because the Bears have been up and down this year. It's a good matchup by the numbers. There's no weather concerns. He's playing in Arizona. There's no bad weather in Arizona as far as rain or wind. And even if there was, they have a dome. So they could close the roof if they had to. So I'll go Caleb. Yep. If it's Williams versus Love, I'll take Williams. So, yes, you have that right. I got my member questions. Andrews or Hawkinson? Is that the question? I assume. What did Andrews do last week? I feel like was he quiet last week? It was against the Browns. No, he caught a touchdown, right? I thought he did. What am I remembering? I'll answer my own questions here. I'm asking myself a series of questions that I can easily answer here myself. All I have to do is just pull up Sleeper and take a look at their game logs, these players. Yeah, he did. I wasn't crazy, but he only 5 catches, 36 yards for a touchdown. He's caught touchdowns in his past 3 games, Mark Andrews has. So he has definitely bounced back to life. Hawkinson, on the other hand, we're not expecting to have any restrictions, and it's a great matchup against the Colts. I always lean on the side of caution with players making their debut when it's multiple weeks into the season, having recovered from an injury. So I'm inclined to say Andrews here. Hawkinson is in a great spot in a great matchup tomorrow, but Andrews has found a little bit of rhythm here the past 3 weeks. I think I'll take Andrews. I think I'll take Andrews. But Hawkinson, in all likelihood, moving forward after this week. I'm going to let him get a game under his belt before I play him. Yeah, so Andrews slightly. Full PPR, Rashad White or Javonte Williams. This is difficult because neither are in a great spot. I think I give the slight edge to Rashad White over Javonte because Javonte's usage has been a little up and down recently. Both are in bad matchups. The Ravens and the Chiefs are two of the best run-stopping units in the NFL. The difference between Javonte and Rashad White is I'm pretty confident that Rashad White will be the running back in the game on passing downs. He'll be the third down back, and anytime that the Bucs are in a hurry up, they're in the 2-minute drill, they're in obvious passing down situations, and I think they will be a lot against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road. I think Rashad White can be the guy as a running back for the Bucs to come through even in a bad matchup because he can catch the ball. Javonte can catch the ball as well, but they don't use him as consistently in that role. And Jaleel McLaughlin has been eating into his workload. Now, yes, Rashad White, Bucky Irving, all of that. But the matchup is in all likelihood a little bit more favorable for Rashad White as a pass catcher. Again, when you have a matchup against a tough run defense, take the pass catching running back. And I think that is Rashad White more so than it is Javonte Williams. I'll take Rashad, and especially in full PPR. I'll take Rashad White. Let's see. I think I got this one. I will. You forgot Tillman. Still Chuba Hubbard. He's going to have that backfield to himself against the New Orleans Saints if Brian Robinson doesn't go. And in fact, I might just put Chuba in there now because Robinson is on the injury report and they elevated Chris Rodriguez. So that's not a great sign for Robinson. I got Don Super. Thank you again, Don. I got Derek. I got your questions. I got Armando. Derek, just, consider waiting on Higgins to have a good game and then see if you can sell him. Let's see. You're 2-6, so we need to make a push for the playoffs. The time is now. Bigger swing for the fences. I think you go Tillman here because Dobbs is going to be fighting the weather. Rain is expected in Green Bay tomorrow. 15, 16, 17 mile per hour winds is expected in Green Bay tomorrow. Tillman, on the other hand, I don't think we have any concerns for the Cleveland weather. Not like that anyway. Let's double check to confirm. And I don't have as many questions about his usage. We're looking at 63 degrees on Sunday in Cleveland. A lot of wind potential, but no precipitation in the forecast. So that's the difference for me. It looks like it's going to be windy in both Green Bay and Cleveland, but one has rain. That's Green Bay. The other doesn't. That's Cleveland. So that's a slight boost for Tillman for me. I'll take Tillman. And you need the swing for the fences. Tillman looks like the boom bust play here. I'll take Tillman. And his role is like super safe. Real quick, I see a member question. David, McBride or Otten? Otten is a top 3 play for me this week. McBride is top 5. Otten's top 3. And you may want to consider trying to trade one of those two to somebody who needs a tight end. Get some running back or wide receiver help and just rock with one of those guys moving forward. McBride is top 5. Otten for me is top 3. I would play Otten. So give me Tillman over Dobbs. Both are in windy conditions tomorrow, but Dobbs is dealing with rain on top of wind. I'll take Tillman. Josh Downs or Tyrone Tracy in full PPR. One has wide receiver 1 upside. The other has RB1 upside. I think I slightly lean Downs. Minnesota has a pretty good defense, but they are giving up a lot of yards per game to opposing passing offense or to opposing passing games. Opposing offenses are passing the ball with a decent amount of success against Minnesota. And I saw a stat on X the other day that Minnesota is one of the top blitzing defenses in the NFL. Joe Flacco, in a limited sample size, has beaten the blitz with ease and with excellence in his opportunities this year. So this is actually a good matchup for the Colts passing game. I would take Downs in full PPR over Tracy. Tracy's in a good matchup as well and is the Giants' RB1. Washington is still allowing over 100, close to 120 rushing yards per game. But they've been playing better recently, Washington's defense. So I'll take Downs. Moving right along. I don't see any member or questions or supers at the moment, so I'm just going to keep it moving. Appreciate everybody's patience once again. Thank you. I know some of you folks have had to wait a little bit to get to these questions, so I appreciate your patience. When I'm answering these questions, I'm trying to give you as much of my thoughts as I possibly can, so it's not just an automatic, like, this guy and keep it moving. Like, let me give you my thoughts to really help drive home. Like, so as opposed to saying just Downs or just Tracy and keeping it moving, you guys have some context, because that's what people want. Context, I would think, anyway, right? A thought out answer, hopefully. But that requires some patience, and for that, I thank you all. Appreciate it. Douglas, Tolbert, Elijah Moore, Coker, or Liggett. Douglas will likely see Sneed. He'll likely see L'Jarius Sneed, so that's a tougher matchup. Tolbert shouldn't see A.J. Terrell. That'll be Lamb, even though Lamb's good enough to beat Terrell. Obviously, Lamb's good enough to beat any defensive back. Tolbert in a good spot. Elijah Moore in a decent spot. Coker's very intriguing, but obviously that means we have to rely on Bryce Young. Liggett injured on the injury report. Tolbert, Douglas, Elijah Moore. Man, do we really believe Elijah Moore? I mean, I guess he's going to get volume. I would go Tolbert in a decent matchup. I would go Tolbert in a decent matchup against Atlanta. I don't know if I'm ready to go Elijah Moore yet. Douglas has a tough matchup. Potentially seeing L'Jarius Sneed on the road. Oh, is he hurt? Did I miss that? He's not going to play? Is he out this week? Oh, he is out. That's a little bit more interesting. Okay. No Sneed and May is in. I'll take Demario Douglas. I'll take Douglas and I'll take Tolbert. That's where I'll go. See, I had to think. Thank you for the. I was like, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, L'Jarius Sneed. I didn't realize he was out. So thank you for the extra context. That helps. Yeah, I'll take Douglas. May is in. Sneed is out. That's a big boost for May or for Douglas. And I'll take Tolbert. Decent matchup against the Falcons in a game where a lot of points are expected. Vegas has set that line. I think last I saw was 51.5. Cowboys Falcons spread. 52. It's up to 52. A lot of points are expected in that game. Give me Douglas. Give me Tolbert. Yep, Douglas and Tolbert. I got my member questions. Appreciate the support. Thank you, guys. Shakir, Waddle, or Tillman in full PPR? I'm going to say Jalen Waddle, even though Tillman has been better recently. If you want to ride the wave, if you want to ride the momentum, Tillman. Although we are looking at 18-mile-per-hour winds tomorrow in Cleveland, and it's not a great matchup by the numbers. What's Buffalo's weather? Speaking of cold weather places. It's not too bad. 55 degrees and sunny. Only 10-mile-per-hour winds. Tua second game back from his multi-week absence. I might get burned for this because Waddle has been pretty disappointing this year, but he is, I believe, the most talented player of this group. And at the end of the day, I want to bet on talent. I will take Jalen Waddle. I will take Jalen Waddle in full PPR and hope that he always has to come through. Like, he has to do the most with the least. He only gets 5 targets, but he can turn those 5 targets into 100 yards or 70 and a score. He hasn't done it consistently this year, but we've seen him do it before. I'll take Waddle. What's that? What's the spread of that game? What's the line? Why won't it tell me the line? Dolphins, Bills line. Dude, I just want to know how many points Vegas thinks that will be scored in this game. That's all I care about. 49.5 is what I'm seeing now. Okay. Yeah. So points are expected in this game. Give me Waddle. Give me Waddle. Like, he's gonna come through. It's gonna happen. We're gonna get a good Jalen Waddle game. It's gonna. We're manifesting this. I need a prayer circle for Jalen Waddle. I got David. I got your question. Just checking to see what's going on, Jay. Good to see you again. I got to get to my members. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions answered in priority order, but I have my spot in line. I'm not skipping. Appreciate everybody's patience. I will get to you. Would I go Pitts or Hawkinson? Give me Pitts. Pitts is on a roll right now, and there's nothing scary about the matchup against Dallas. Pitts is on a roll. He's cleared 65 yards receiving in 4 straight games. Ever since his goose egg week 4, 7 for 88, 3 for 70, 7 for 65, 4 for 91. He went nuts for 2 touchdowns last week. We're not going to chase that. But there's a high implied total of points scored or expected in this game between the Cowboys and the Falcons. They're at home. I'm riding with Pitts. Let's give Hawkinson a week. It's great that he's making his return. Let's give him a week before we fire him up if we have an option like Kyle Pitts. I'm going Pitts. Yeah. Not expecting 2 touchdowns, but we have a little bit of momentum here with Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to chase that. Let's see. I got David's initial questions. Appreciate the shout out about the rain in Green Bay. You dropped Christian Watson for Chestnut. That's fine. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Just in time for you to drop him. He's going to go nuclear. That's how it always goes. Without fail every time. But I don't mind the Chestnut grab. He could be, he's decent depth. Tajay Spears has missed a decent amount of time. Curious as to why he wasn't just put on injured reserve at this point. Start 2, Dowdle, Tracy, Eckler. The first 2. Give me Dowdle, no Zeke. I was a little lukewarm about Rico Dowdle coming into this game, but Ezekiel Elliott is inactive and not traveling with the team for disciplinary reasons. Zeke's been a bad boy. Rico is going to be the 1A, and he's got a cooked Dalvin Cook behind him for RB2 duties. I think Dowdle's in play here for a decent performance. I feel like he's kind of been poo-pooed in the rankings and expectations. He didn't do a whole lot the last time we saw him play, which was week 6, week 7 bye week, and then he was out last week. He's been good with the opportunities that he's received. He didn't get a ton of opportunities in week 6 because it was a 47-9 blowout. Give me Rico with no Zeke, and I will take Tracy, who is the Giants RB1. Now, of course, Eckler is intriguing with if Brian Robinson is out. He's intriguing with Robinson out, but I just like these other guys better. I like Rico with no Ezekiel Elliott. And I like Tracy as the Giants RB1. I'll take Dowdle and I'll take Tracy. Eckler being out or Robinson being out would make Eckler very intriguing, but I don't think I would I don't think I would put him ahead of either of these guys. Maybe Rico, because there would be fewer opportunities behind Eckler than there would be behind Rico in theory, but Tracy for sure. And I think I would just play Rico. There's a lot of points expected in this game. Yeah. So right, that's the concern. Do the conditions amplify any potential issues with Love and a potential injury, a re-injury? Are we slipping and sliding all over the field? Yeah. So there is a little bit of concern. I love Jaden Reed, and Romeo Dobbs is a good player too. They got a lot of good wide receivers in Green Bay, but these particular circumstances and conditions, especially with Love being on the injury report, I'm officially, kind of down on them. Lions, you have to start Amon-Ra, but Laporta, maybe consider alternate options. Gibbs and Montgomery, you can play. You're gonna play your running backs because running backs can survive bad conditions. Coker and Chestnut that's the script this week. Coker's in a solid spot. I'll tell you right now, Jalen Coker's line for the week is receiving yards is like 33 and a half. I put that in a little player prop. We'll see if it hits, but it is a low number, and I think he clears it. Yep. But yeah, good looking out on how we expect the writers this week to have things play out. Good looking out. Armando, I got your question. Njoku over Laporta. Yes. Reed or Tillman, full PPR? Yeah, I'll take Tillman. I was originally saying Jaden Reed, and Jaden Reed is I believe the more talented player here, but we're dealing with rain. Both players are dealing with wind. Expected wind gusts in Cleveland and Green Bay tomorrow. But on top of that, in Green Bay, there's rain. So I'll take Tillman. One less thing for him to deal with. Tillman has wind. Reed has wind, rain, and Jordan Love on the injury report. So that's enough for me to kind of knock him down a couple of spots. I'll take Tillman. McConkey is in your lineup. Sutton is on your bench. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with how you have that. I like Sutton this week, but McConkey went nuts last week. Possession guy, slot receiver. Justin Herbert trusts him. The conditions aren't great, but the short and intermediate throws should be okay. I'll take McConkey. That's over Sutton. That's fine. It's a good matchup for Sutton, but McConkey in your flex, that's fine. Or Sutton's in your second flex over these other names. That's okay. Sorry, McConkey for sure. And yes, I'm good with Sutton over these guys. I would have considered Dobbs, but with the weather concerns in Green Bay, Sutton over Dobbs is fine for me. Yep. McConkey and Sutton in the flex. That's good. I'm good with that. Let's see. We're moving right along. I see my spot in line. I have it, but I got another question from Jay. Again, a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions answered in priority order. Start one in full PPR between Pittman, Downs, Hopkins, or Cooper. I'll go Downs here. I think he's the Colts wide receiver one when Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback. Flacco is on record saying he likes throwing the ball to Josh Downs. It is a good matchup by the numbers. Give me Downs. If you can only pick one, give me Downs. Cooper on the injury report. Tough to trust after last week. Hopkins, another game under his belt with the Kansas City Chiefs after this weekend. So like more time in the system, in the playbook, all that good stuff. But he's been mostly quiet, so hard to trust, even though it's a good matchup. And again, Pittman, good player, floor elevated with Flacco in as the starting quarterback. But I think Downs operates as the team's wide receiver one right now. So I got to say Downs. Didn't know it was tight end. Well, you have Otten, Kittle, and Hawkinson. You may need to move off from one of those guys. You might need to make a trade. Try to trade one of those guys for some wide receiver or running back help, depending on what you maybe need a little bit more. That's a great spot to be in because Kittle is like Kittle and Otten are both top 3 tight ends rest of the way, and Hawkinson is probably top 8. Sorry you lost him just in time to not have him for championship week last year. But congrats on making it that far. Still an accomplishment to make it to championship week, even if you don't bring the title home. It's disappointing, obviously, but you had a great year. But maybe consider trading one of those guys. You've got a crazy surplus at tight end. Kittle is the tight end 2 for me tomorrow. Tight end 1? Or wait, he's on bye this week. He's top 3 rest of season. Bowers is tight end 1 for me tomorrow. And then I guess Otten is tight end 2. Or Kelsey. Kelsey's up there as well. Kelsey's all the way back after a slow start to the year. Kelsey, then Bowers, then Otten. That's where I would go. Kittle, rest of season, top 3, though. That's what I meant. And a lot of people drafted Marvin Harrison over Saquon and Henry. You were not alone in that regard. I regularly saw that happen in best ball drafts over the summer. Marvin Harrison went over Saquon, went over Henry. You swung for the fences. It doesn't always hit. Doesn't always hit. Trust in your strategy year over year, though. If you have a strategy, stick with it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if it works for you more often than not, then that's all that matters. And you ended up with Mason. So there you go. I mean, that is the lottery ticket that makes it all like, okay, you know? We'll see what his usage is like moving forward after this bye week, but he's been a guy that has big time helped folks who were able to either just pick him up, drafted him late, or just grabbed him after Christian McCaffrey went down or was ruled out ahead of week 1. I mean, he was probably sitting on a decent number of waiver wires, and just like that, becomes a regular in your starting lineup for the first 8 weeks. There's nothing you can, that's a best case scenario, you know? Let's see. Half PPR pick 2. Montgomery, Connor, Brian Robinson. Give me the first 2 because Brian Robinson's on the injury report. I'm not worried about Montgomery or Gibbs tomorrow, even with the bad weather. Running backs should be fine. Running backs are okay. The only thing you worry about is like slipping and sliding. But we got to start our stud running backs, and Montgomery is in stud territory. So is James Conner. It's not a great matchup by the numbers, but James Conner has been good, as advertised. Good offense at home. You feel pretty strong about his opportunity to score a touchdown. He gets a lot. He scores like a touchdown on a per game basis. Like since he got to Arizona, he's been really good. We're rocking with James Conner, even in a less than ideal matchup at home. You feel fine about his odds. Brian Robinson's on the injury report, and that's the difference. Well, he may not even play. And even if he does, is he going to be like operating less than 100%? I'll play Monty. I'll play Connor. Full PPR lover. Cousins at home. No weather issues. Great spot to stream Kirk Cousins. The Cowboys are a gettable opponent for opposing passing games. They are not that, they're not that strong. Cousins is playing well. He's been up and down, but he's playing well recently. London, Pitts, Mooney, Bijan. It's a damn good cast of characters to throw the ball to. Give me Cousins. Love, injury report, dealing with bad weather. So give me Cousins. Ferguson or McBride. McBride's a top 5 play for me this week. I'll take McBride. And then Dobbs or McMillan. This one sucks because Dobbs is dealing with bad weather and McMillan is questionable for Monday Night Football. I think you have to go Dobbs. Unfortunately, the weather is a concern in Green Bay, but McMillan's on the injury report, and if he's out on Monday Night Football, then you don't have any pivots. I would play Dobbs. But we have to lower expectations because of the weather. This might be a rare occurrence where I would tell you, if you can, to maybe just play both of those tight ends, play McBride and Ferguson, unless it's a different league. Give me Cousins, give me McBride. And honestly, if it's the same league, this is a rare occurrence where I would consider playing two tight ends like Ferguson over Dobbs and McMillan, because Dobbs is dealing with bad weather tomorrow in all likelihood, and McMillan is questionable for Monday night. I got a super from MVM. Thank you so much, MVM. Appreciate the support, the continued support. I know this isn't your first, so thank you. Let's see. This was the trade Taylor for London. So you have Achane, you have Brooks, you have Kyron, you have Tracy, and you have Bigsby, who I don't love this week, but is obviously still a good, rest of season guy to have. Nico, who is hurt but coming back. Jennings, Dobbs, McMillan, Worthy, Sutton. Yes, I would do this trade, MVM. Yes, I would do this trade. Because you're trading from a position of strength and addressing a position of weakness. And when Nico comes back and you can start Achane and Kyron and Tracy maybe in the flex, and then Nico Collins and Drake London as your starting wide receivers. If you start a third wide receiver, you can rotate between Dobbs and McMillan and Worthy and Sutton. Yeah, I think that's good. I'll take that. I'll take that. And Brooks will be a potential option for your running backs moving forward after hopefully week 10. Yeah. You go from your wide receiver situation being a weakness to a strength in the course of about 2 weeks when Nico Collins comes back, and then you have London and Nico. Yeah. I would do this trade. Yeah. It makes your team better. It makes your team better. And that's what the most important question that we need to answer is when we're considering making a trade. Appreciate the super, MVM. Thank you so much for the support. I have my spot in line. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. I am moving through these questions. I will get to everybody. I just got to this one. Montgomery Connor over B-Rob. I got to this one. Give me Cousins. Give me McBride. Give me, honestly, Ferguson over Dobbs, and then Dobbs over McMillan. Half PPR pick 2. Jacobs, Dobbins, Chase Brown. Dobbins and Chase Brown. Jacobs is on the injury report. I'm not worried about running backs when it comes to bad weather, but he is on the injury report, so I don't like that. Chase Brown, Zach Moss is not going to play, and it's a great matchup against the Raiders. And Dobbins has been pretty strong this year. He hasn't been worse than an RB3 any week this year. So he's occasionally Dobbins helps you win a week, and then other times he doesn't lose you the week. He's still providing some decent flex numbers in a worst case scenario. I'll take Dobbins and I'll take Chase Brown. Jacobs on the injury report. He's third for me here this week. And so, MVM, this is maybe an extension of the question that you just shared the super with. London, you were offered London and Coleman for Taylor and Bigsby. I don't want to do 2 running backs for 2 wide receivers. I would rather leave this at Taylor for London. I like Coleman. As an interesting, big play ability, but potential inconsistent usage in this offense. Bigsby, he's got, it looks like he's now the 1A in this backfield. We'll see if that remains the rest of the way, but he's not going to go away even if ETN ultimately gets healthy. I don't want to give up 2 running backs for 2 wide receivers. 1 for 1, sure. 2 for 2. Now my depth is starting to take a bit of a hit, and all it takes is 1 injury for me to be thin at running back. 1 for 1, yes. 2 for 2, I'm not as bullish on. You don't need another wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside. You need a wide receiver 1. London is that acquisition for you for just Taylor. Bo Nix or Caleb Williams. Bo Nix is playing better than Caleb right now. And it's a good matchup for Bo Nix. He scored 4 rushing touchdowns, Nix has. He's running pretty frequently. The Ravens secondary is allowing a lot of passing yards per game. Okay. Yeah. Bo Nix over Caleb Williams. Caleb could give you like a performance that we saw against Jacksonville in London, but we've seen a pretty bad floor for Caleb as well. So he's kind of all over the place. Bo Nix is just flat out playing well, and he's playing better than Caleb Williams at the moment. And it's a good matchup. Yeah, I'll say Bo over Caleb. Yeah. I'll say Bo over Caleb. Yep. Connor Mooney or Chase Brown. This is only a pick one. Chase Brown. Chase Brown is a top 10 play this week. Zach Moss is out, and he gets the Raiders. The Raiders they're not like one of the run funnel defenses of the NFL, but they are bottom half of the league as far as run defense. It's a mismatch on paper, the Bengals offense with Joe Burrow, even with Higgins down. You expect the Bengals to be playing with a lead in this game, and that would mean that they're probably featuring their running back a little bit more often than not. Chase Brown's a top 10 play for me this week. And as much as I like Connor and Mooney in their spots, I got to play Chase Brown. Let's see. Flowers or Pittman. Flowers has been all over the place this year, and I guess Pittman kind of has been as well. I'll say Pittman. His floor is higher with Flacco. It's a good matchup. Flowers could be dealing with Patrick Surtain and also maybe a little less usage with Deontay Johnson, presumably ready to contribute to the offense. So I have fewer questions about Michael Pittman, actually, than I do Zay Flowers. I'll say Pittman. Otten or Bowers? Bowers is like one of two names that I would play over Cade Otten. That being said, they are top 3 plays this week at the tight end spot. Both are awesome. Both are in good spots. Bowers is on the road. Otten's on the road. Both are beatable matchups. I give the slight nod to Bowers, but I think they will both do well. Top 5 at the position upside this week. And they probably have like a floor, both of like top 7 or 8. Bowers, it's close, but I'll take Bowers. And if you have both, consider trading one for running for like you can ask for a good running back or a good wide receiver for either Cade Otten or Brock Bowers right now. But I'll give the slight nod to Bowers. I like both for what it's worth, though. Waddle, Ridley, Myers, Downs. Downs? Is this where we're at with Josh Downs versus names like Jalen Waddle and Calvin Ridley? I do think Calvin Ridley is in a good spot because he catches the ball from Mason Rudolph instead of Will Levis. But Josh Downs has been awesome recently, and when Joe Flacco throws him the ball, good things happen. The passing game is good for Indianapolis now. I trust Joe Flacco more than I trust Mason Rudolph. I think I trust Downs more than I trust Jalen Waddle right now. And Ridley and Myers are both intriguing, but I trust Downs' quarterback situation more than I trust Ridley's or Myers' quarterback situation. Downs, if it's just one, if you can only play one, I'll play Downs. Flacco has started 2 games this year. I'm looking it up right now. Flacco has started 2 games this year. In those 2 games, Downs has combined for 16 catches, 138 yards, and he got a touchdown in one of them. Downs. And again, Snead is outside. Demario Douglas is a good stream play this week. Taysom Hill or Jonnu Smith? Taysom's back, right? I believe Hill is back. I know Taysom Hill was a part of another question earlier. I think Taysom, just because of his Swiss Army knife usage. Jonnu blew up against the Colts, but every tight end blows up against the Colts. I guess that's a good sign for TJ Hawkinson. But again, I want to wait a week on him. Jonnu, 4 catches, 20 yards last week. I guess there's potential for a little bit more usage on the road against Buffalo where they're going to have to throw. But Taysom gets a juicy matchup against the Carolina Panthers. And yeah, he figures to, Jamal Williams is out. Kendre Miller is out. They may run the ball with him a little bit more this week. Hell, maybe he continues to catch the ball a little bit or have chances as a pass catcher with no Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, I'll play Hill. I'll play Taysom Hill over Jonnu for 1 week, and then you can go back to Kittle for the rest of the season starting in week 10. Yeah, I'll play Hill for a week. Let's see. I got Jay's questions. Thank you again, Jay. Appreciate all my appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out, talking shop today. Again, appreciate your patience as I work through questions. But as always, special shout out to my members for your support. Are you crazy to start Liggett over Waddle? I think Liggett is now on the injury report. Is this correct? Yeah, he's questionable with this toe injury. I mean, there's no Lattimore for the Saints, so it's a great matchup. But I'll take Waddle over Liggett. Waddle's still the better player. He's catching passes from the better quarterback. It's a matchup where Miami is going to have to throw against the Bills. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers can kind of just run all over the Saints, who are getting gashed by opposing run games. And again, Liggett's on the injury report. I would play Waddle. I know Waddle has been difficult to trust, but I think I trust him more than Liggett. I'll take Waddle. PPR, Dobbins or Tracy? I guess you can't play both of these running backs over both of those receivers, can you? I'll give the slight nod to Dobbins again. I believe I got this question earlier, Dobbins versus Tracy. Tracy blew up last week, RB4 finish. Incredible performance in a tough matchup. Is the Giants RB1 rest of season moving forward? At least that's what it looks like. But Dobbins is equally the Chargers RB1 rest of season. Edwards remains on IR. Tougher matchup for Dobbins, but he has been rock solid, super steady this year. I'll say Dobbins is your floor play, your safe play. Tracy's more of a moonshot upside play. I think I go Dobbins for the floor, unless you are a big underdog and need a moonshot play. But I think I'll just go Dobbins. I would play Tracy over Amari Cooper or Jacoby Myers, though, for what it's worth. But if you have to choose between Cooper and Myers, I actually think I'll take Jacoby Myers. Cooper had a good debut for the Bills, but that's because he caught a touchdown. He didn't play a lot of snaps. He played more snaps last week and did nothing. And now he's on the injury report with a wrist injury. So I'll take Myers over Amari Cooper. I'll take Myers over Cooper, but I'll take Tracy over both wide receivers if there's a chance that you can play both running backs over both receivers. Dobbins floor, Tracy ceiling, Myers over Amari Cooper, Tracy over both receivers if you could theoretically play both running backs. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., Demario Douglas, or Tillman. Harrison has the Bears, not as good of a matchup, but they are at home, and he came to life last week. I'll take Marvin Harrison. Like I just said, we saw signs of life from Marvin Harrison Jr. last week. And while I like Tillman, if I can play a player with, not dealing with any weather elements versus somebody who is dealing with weather elements, there could be some 15-mile-plus-per-hour winds in Cleveland tomorrow. Marvin Harrison plays in the desert, in the dome. No concerns with the weather. I'll take Marvin Harrison. Douglas is third here. Douglas is interesting because no L'Jarius Sneed for Tennessee, and Drake May being in at quarterback helps him, but he's third here. Behind Tillman and I'll take Marvin Harrison above all because he doesn't have any wind concerns like Tillman does. I got Gibbs. I got Jay's question. Gibbs gonna boom? He could. Gibbs and Montgomery should boom tomorrow. They should get all the work with the bad weather. And then Tillman, Wandale, Tracy. In full PPR. Tracy, and I think I'll take Tillman over Wandale. Wandale is a strong wide receiver 3, but Tillman has more wide receiver 2 upside and a more guaranteed target share. Which is crazy to say because Wandale has had a really strong target share all season long, but Tillman is the wide receiver 1 now for Cleveland. Things have changed. So I'll give me Tillman and give me Tracy. Man, I am getting on top of these questions. I'm nearly at the end. That's a nice thing to see. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through these questions. And I will make sure to get to all of them. If I see any more members or supers, I will jump down to them, but I have my spot in line. So let's keep it moving. Worthy or Ridley this week? I'll take Ridley over Worthy. Ridley is a wide receiver 2 when Mason Rudolph is the quarterback. He gets more catchable targets. If Will Levis comes back and starts for the Titans again at some point this year, then I'm not going to trust Calvin Ridley in those matchups. But when Mason Rudolph is throwing him the ball, he has a better chance to come through. And we saw that last week. I'll take Ridley over Worthy. I'll take Ridley over Worthy. And then this is just a lineup question. So Alan, yes. Olave McLaurin is fine. Olave McLaurin is fine. Swift, yes. Kincaid doesn't look like you have another tight end option, so okay. Plus you have the stack with Allen, so you roll those dice. Tracy, yes. Ridley, yes. Yeah, this looks right. This is correct. I don't mind this move. I mean, I love Devontae Smith, but Pickens is a fine replacement, and Brian Robinson is an upgrade over Bucky Irving when healthy anyway. So yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that move. I'm okay with that trade. One at flex, full PPR. Kraft, Coker, Tipton, Taysom Hill. I do not like starting 2 tight ends. And I'm out on Kraft right now because of the weather concerns in Green Bay. Coker is a dart throw, but he is interesting after what he did last week. I'll take Coker. I don't know if he's going to do better than Taysom Hill, but I don't want to play 2 tight ends. I just don't want to play 2 tight ends. Coker, at least he had 78 yards receiving last week, and his usage is going to go way up. And if Lay gets on the injury report, that's another thing here with Coker. So, like, Coker might run as the team's wide receiver 1 tomorrow in a great matchup against the Saints. Yeah, I'll take Coker here. I'll take Coker. Lattimore's not playing. Lay gets on the injury report. Deontay's in Baltimore. Adam Thielen's in the retirement home. Like, I'll take Coker. No disrespect to Adam Thielen, of course, but he's 34 and hasn't played in 5 weeks. Yeah, I'll take Coker. I just don't want to play 2 tight ends. And Kraft, bad weather. Taysom Hill, usage is all over the map any given week. Yeah, I'll take Coker. Do you drop McMillan or Bigsby for Rico? I do not believe that Rico should be on waivers. Yeah, I would drop Bigsby. I would drop McMillan or Bigsby. If you have good, you have good wide receiver, or you have good running back depth, but like less than stellar. I would probably drop Jennings MVM, to be honest, before I would drop McMillan, because McMillan is going to have a role rest of season. Jennings, yes, has a larger role with Brandon Ayuk out, but he's going to run behind Debo and George Kittle, and eventually, potentially, he's going to get fewer targets than Christian McCaffrey whenever he comes back. McMillan figures to have a larger role rest of the season because Chris Godwin is done for the year. So I think I'd rather hold McMillan, than Jennings. I would drop Jennings for Rico and keep Bigsby. Or if that 2 for 2 is on the table, MBM, I didn't know that Rico was available for you. If Rico is on waivers and that 2 for 2 trade is still on the table, where you send Bigsby and Taylor and get Coleman and London, if that trade is on the table, I would do that now. And then I would drop McMillan or Jennings, take your pick, for Rico. If that 2 for 2 trade is still on the table and Rico is just sitting there on waivers, then I would do that 2 for 2 trade. Trade Bigsby, trade Taylor, get London, get Coleman, and then you could drop McMillan or Jennings. It doesn't matter, and you pick up Rico. That's your move. If you can't, if the 1 for 1 trade is done or the 2 for 2 trade is no longer on the table for whatever reason, I would drop Jennings probably first. But I would drop either one of those receivers to pick up Rico. Rico's an RB2 tomorrow. No Ezekiel Elliott. A high implied total for that game. Vegas likes Falcons Cowboys to score a lot of points. Rico is an RB2 tomorrow with no Ezekiel Elliott. And just rest of season, I want Rico Dowdle on my roster. He might not be great, but he's the Cowboys RB1. And a team's leading running back should be on fantasy rosters. So, yes, I want to add Rico. Gesicki or McBride? McBride. McBride's a top 5 play tomorrow. Earned a lot of targets recently. Has been putting up really strong numbers, has Trey McBride. Gesicki is he's a good streaming option in a great matchup, but he's more of a stream. Trey McBride is a guy that you just fire up. I'll take McBride. Tracy over Rico. But I like Rico. I've been in on Rico for some time now. Just like, again, he is good running back depth to have. He is an RB2 any given week. He's going to have RB3 downside here and there, but even in bad matchups, he's delivered this year. I like Rico. He's not great. No one's going to name him to any all-pro teams anytime soon. But he's been decent this year with the opportunities that he's received. And now Ezekiel Elliott is in the doghouse for disciplinary reasons. Tracy tomorrow, but Rico I like having moving forward. I'll take Tracy, though, tomorrow. Good matchup. Coming off an RB4 overall finish last week. I'll take Tracy over Rico. We're at the end of the chat. I'm going to allow a couple more minutes. I'm just taking a couple of looks at a couple more pieces of information here, just in case I have any new details for anybody to run by. If nobody needs anything else, and I will keep an eye out for any new questions. I'm just checking to see if we have any more like injury updates that weren't reported earlier. Optimism, Tony Pollard will play. Okay, so there goes the Julius Chestnut potential stream. We're not doing that. And that's the only one. There's optimism that Tony Pollard will play. If Tony Pollard is active, Tony Pollard probably needs to find a way into your starting lineup. It's a good matchup against New England, and he's been steady this year. Hawkinson or Bowers? I would play Bowers. in his first game, if you want to play Hawkinson, that's totally fine. Like if in your heart of hearts or in your, in your analysis, your own personal, research, and it's a great matchup. The Colts are a tight end funnel, meaning they give up a lot of production to opposing tight ends. But it's Hawkinson's first game of the year. And I'm always I just generally, for better or worse, I err on the side of caution if I have a viable option. And Bowers is a top 3 tight end any given week. I'll take Bowers. Hawkinson, tight end 1 upside rest of season. I tend to want to give these guys a week, though, before I fire them up. It's a good matchup. Hawk should be able to come through. I just worry about I don't doubt TJ Hawkinson. It's just his first game in a year minus 8 weeks. Right? He got hurt week 16 last year or week 15 last year. And now here we are, week 9 of this year. It's been a little bit of time. And you have Bowers. Bowers is a stud. Bowers is a top 3 play for me this week. I would probably go Kelsey, Bowers, Otten, McBride, and then maybe, even though it's not a great matchup, but out of necessity, I think Evan Ingram comes through with some decent volume, but I would put him 5th. Bowers, though, only had 5 for 58 last week, but 10 for 93 week 7, 9 for 71 week 6, 8 for 97 week 5. He's, 22, 32, 36. He's averaging 10 targets over the past 4 games. Yeah. Bowers has at least 8 targets in 5 of 8 games played this year. Nothing scary about the matchup. I would play Bowers. If you want to play Hawk, play Hawk. It's a good matchup. I would play Bowers and wait a week on Hawkinson. Jaden Daniels or Mahomes? I don't trust Patrick Mahomes, even though it's a good matchup. We're playing Jaden Daniels against the Giants. Jaden Daniels is going absolutely nuclear to start his NFL career. And he doesn't have an injury designation for tomorrow. We're firing him up. He's been unbelievable. We're firing him up. Daniels. Mahomes has been disappointing for fantasy purposes. The Chiefs are 7-0 or whatever, but for fantasy purposes, putting up the numbers for fantasy production, it hasn't been there for Patrick Mahomes this year. It very much has been for Jaden Daniels. Start Jaden Daniels. Winston or Love? I'll take Winston because he's playing the Chargers. It's not a great matchup, and he's dealing with some wind. But Love is dealing with wind, rain, and an injury designation. Is Bo Nix available? Shit, did Sam Darnold get dropped? Or I doubt he was, but if he's still out, if he's out there, is Kirk Cousins out there? Is Geno out there? What's the weather in Seattle? It's always raining in Seattle. Now I'm thinking about weather. Now Green Bay's got me thinking about weather, which is something you definitely want to consider. So maybe if you have the Packers kicker, maybe move off of them. If you're in a windy, if it's a windy game expected, maybe move off of them. Seattle weather. How are we looking tomorrow, Seattle? Tell me something good. Rain tomorrow in the forecast, 18-mile-per-hour winds. Good God. Why is every part of the country dealing with rain and wind tomorrow? All right. I will say Winston. If your best options are Winston or Jordan Love, I'm officially knocking Love and the Packers offense in general down a tier or so, maybe a tier and a half. Wind, rain, and Love is on the injury report with this groin injury. That's a lot of variables that just feel kind of icky. I'll take Winston, who's only dealing with wind. And I know that's something to be said for that. 17-mile-per-hour winds or 17-mile-per-hour winds. That's tough to deal with as far as throwing accurate footballs and hoping that your receivers catch them. But they are professionals. They are pros at the end of the day. We can't just worry about the elements completely to the point where we try to, do something dire or drastic. I'll take Winston over Love. I'll take Winston. And yeah, of course, appreciate you coming in and hanging out. Again with Hawkinson. It's a great matchup. If you want to play him, I don't blame you. But if you have a top 3 player like Brock Bowers at the position, and right now Bowers is a top 3 play at tight end, yeah, I would go with Bowers. Drop Dowdle or Hopkins. Don't drop Dowdle. I like Rico Dowdle is, again, no one's picking him to be on the all-pro teams at the end of the year. But Ezekiel Elliott is in the doghouse for disciplinary reasons, and Dalvin Cook is burnt toast. Rico has been solid with the opportunities that he has received. I don't want to cut running back depth like that outright. If you have to drop one of these dudes, it would be Hopkins for me. It would be Hopkins. I think Dowdle is an RB2 rest of season. He'll be we'll rank him as an RB3 in bad matchups or less than ideal matchups, but I mean, he's doing pretty well with the opportunities that he's received. And he's the only one that's catching the football out of the backfield. Like, he's averaging 4.1 yards per carry, Rico is this year. That's not stellar, but it's not awful. It's over 4. He's got 16 catches. So he's on pace for about 30. He's on like a 35 catch-ish pace. That's not bad. That's pretty good for a dude who's like in the that RB2, high-end RB3, roadmap or radar. That's not bad. Yeah, I'm not dropping Rico. I'm not dropping Rico. If you have to drop one of these dudes to make your roster legal or whatever have you, you have to make some tinkers, and maybe you have an illegal lineup, guys on IR that are no longer IR eligible, all that stuff. I would drop Hopkins. If your lineup is already set, then maybe just do nothing, because I don't necessarily want to drop Hopkins either. But between him and Dowdle, I'm dropping Hopkins. Always prioritize running back depth. Unless you're freaking loaded at running back. Unless you've got Kamara and Walker and Derrick Henry or some combination of those players plus another guy like a Dobbins or a James Conner, Kyron Williams. If you have some combination of those guys, then okay, great, fine. But if not, keep Dowdle. Eagles defense against the Jags, the Saints against the Panthers, Cincinnati against the Raiders. All are in good spots. The Saints defense stinks. The Panthers offense isn't very good. But the Saints defense stinks, and they're down multiple guys tomorrow. Marshawn Lattimore's out, right? He's out for this game. Is what I believe it's what I saw. Could be on the move by Tuesday. They might trade him. Interesting. Where's Marshawn Lattimore going to go? So he's out. This Saints defense is weak even with him. I don't want to play them just because they're playing the Panthers. Bengals, same deal. They have a good matchup against the Raiders, but they stink. The Bengals defense stinks. They're bottom 8 against the run, and they're bottom half of the league. They're close to bottom 10 against the pass. They're not that good. I'll take the Eagles. The Eagles aren't world beaters on defense, but they're playing well of late. In their last 3 games, believe it or not, the Eagles are the second best run defense as far as yards allowed, and they are tops in the NFL against the pass. And Trevor Lawrence is coming in with a banged-up backfield. Travis Etienne's on the injury report. Tank Bigsby's on the injury report. Christian Kirk is gone. Brian Thomas, I believe, is still on the injury report, unless that changed. Gabe Davis stinks. Yeah, Brian Thomas is a game-time decision. The Eagles. Let's play the Eagles against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's where we're going. Yeah, we're playing the Eagles. As far as, yes, if you're picking up Najee shouldn't be on waivers. He should be on a roster. I guess the question is, who are you dropping? But yes, Najee should be on a roster. He should not be on waivers. Whoever your last guy is on your roster, you're not dropping Dobbins, you're not dropping Pollard, you're not dropping Bijan. But if you have somebody else at the end of your bench that you could drop, I would probably drop that player. If these are the guys at the end of your bench, Dobbins, Pollard, Bijan, then you have a loaded roster and you have no room, unfortunately, for Najee. But if you have somebody else at the end of your bench that's not these names, then yes, I would add Najee and drop whoever the last guy is on your bench, if it's not these guys. Yeah, if it's not these guys. And drop. You have who are your bench wide receivers? Let me know who your bench wide receivers are. Dicker, McLaughlin, or I don't know how to say. Is it Reichard or Reichard, the Vikings kicker? It's funny you asked me this question. That's the guy who I picked up for most of my leagues this week. I'm playing the Vikings kicker. He has been money at home, and it's a good matchup against the Colts. Go look at this guy's home splits when he gets to play in the Dome in Minnesota. He cooks. I'm taking the Vikings kicker. I don't want Dicker on the road against Cleveland with 18-mile-per-hour winds, and I don't really want McLaughlin. It's hard to trust that Bucs offense when they're not at full strength to regularly push the ball down the field, and are they gonna settle for field goals on the road against Kansas City? I don't know about that. Yes, it's more likely that teams will settle for points on the road in general in a vacuum. But the Bucs are down all their top weapons on offense, and so I don't trust them as much. But I'll take the Vikings kicker at home in a good matchup. Go look at what he's done at home this year. Reichard, it's either Reichard or Reichard, or Ricard would be a weird pronunciation if that's the case. Hopefully it's not. Apologies that I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I do know who he is. He's the Vikings kicker, and he's got a great matchup at home against the Colts where he has done very well this year. The Vikings kicker. I've picked him up myself in multiple leagues. Yeah. And Dicker's dealing with lots of kickers dealing with the wind tomorrow. Is Koo a good kicker this week? Yeah, they're at home, right? The Falcons are at home. He's rock solid at home in the Dome. There's a lot of players dealing with wind this week. Green Bay, lots of wind. Cleveland, lots of wind. Seattle, lots of wind. Seattle and Green Bay, rain in addition to wind. I think I saw Buffalo's not too bad. 10-mile-per-hour winds. I didn't see what Baltimore is. Like these East Coast where's that Washington Giants game tomorrow? Is it in MetLife? Because MetLife is weird when it comes to the wind. It's in MetLife. So screw that. So Austin Seibert, that's a tough spot for him. Even though he's been really good and you probably can't take him out of your lineup. East Rutherford weather tomorrow. What are we working with? Tomorrow. 8-mile-per-hour winds. Not too bad. But 8-mile-per-hour winds in MetLife is closer to like 15-mile-per-hour winds. Anyway, yes, Koo is a good kicker for this week. He's at home. He does perfectly fine at home. Nothing scary about the Dome, and there's a high implied total between the Cowboys and the Falcons tomorrow. Vegas expects some points to be scored in that game. Koo is perfectly fine this week. Start 2 in full PPR. Downs, Marvin Harrison, Jacobs, Brian Thomas. Downs, and I would probably go Marvin Harrison in full PPR. I like Josh Jacobs, but he's on the injury report. And it's a really, really bad matchup. The Lions are a tough run. They're a tough run defense. They're tough on the season, and they've still been, they've been pretty good still recently. They're a little bit more middle of the pack without Aiden Hutchinson. Their last 3 games are a little bit more middle of the pack, but they're still top 5 on the season as far as rushing production allowed on a per-game basis, the Lions are. So with the wind and the injury report and the potential downgrade for the Packers offense as a whole, with Jordan Love being on the injury report as well, dealing with bad weather, I'll try Marvin Harrison in the desert. Let's see if he can keep some positive momentum going at home after a good week last week in full PPR. And I'll take Downs. He is the Colts wide receiver 1. It's not Pittman. It's Downs. Brian Thomas, love Brian Thomas. He's a stud. He's a game time decision. So he's going to be operating at less than 100% if he's able to go. I'll take Downs and I'll take Marvin Harrison. Let's see. I see a good collection of running backs. I see a pretty good collection of wide receivers. It's probably going to be tough to tier up a wide receiver when you offer. I mean, Jennings and McMillan are 2 good players. The difficult thing is finding somebody who needs depth and is willing to give up like a superior piece for depth. That's usually a tough. Usually a tough sell. Bijan, Algier, Hunt, Pacheco, all good. Tracy, good standalone. You don't need Devin Singletary there. I think I would just keep moving forward with this group. You've got good depth in both running back and wide receiver. Andrews has come to life past few weeks. You can fire him up as a low-end tight end 1. Kyler is up and down, but has top 5 QB upside any given week. I think you're all right here. I mean, yeah, sure. Keep trying to upgrade at wide receiver, but Terry McLaurin has been, a revelation this year with the upgraded quarterback play. Debo, he's passed his bye week after this week. Brandon Ayuk down for the year. Like, you're good at wide receiver. DJ Moore, Tillman has emerged. Like, you're okay. Brian Thomas has been a damn stud. I think you're fine here. You're 5-3, good record. I would keep rocking with this. You've got handcuffs. You've got good running back play and handcuffs. I think you're all right. I think you're fine here. It's a good squad. And your record supports that. Yeah, it's a good team. I don't think you don't need to make any drastic changes. Sure. I would start Pollard if he plays. And now the most recent update about Tony Pollard is there's optimism that he will play. If Pollard is removed from the injury report, I would start Pollard. But if he's out, Tracy's a perfectly fine pivot. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Ravens defense, Rams defense, Saints defense. Are the Titans available? I don't want to play the Saints. They stink, and Lattimore's out. Like, one of their few good players on defense is not playing. I know it's Carolina. New Orleans defense stinks, and they're on the road, so no thanks. Rams on the road, division opponent, not that great of a unit. No. And the Ravens, I guess, from this group would be the one that I choose. But that's my question. My question to your question is, are the Titans available? That's a stream that I'm interested in. Yes, Drake May makes that offense a little bit better, but that offensive line is awful. And they've got a pretty good front, the Titans do. I would play the Titans. That's the defense that I would go with. That's the defense that I would go with as my defensive stream this week. Like, they've got Jeffrey Simmons. He's a damn good player on the defensive line. They've got a pretty good push on the defensive line in general, and the Patriots O-line is giving up a ton of sacks. I would play the Titans. They are more than a shot. That would be they're my stream of the week. They're my stream of the week. Yeah, I would play the Titans against the New England Patriots. They'll rack up some sacks. They should be able to get to the quarterback. Start 3. Well, Dell already went. If you didn't, Dell played on Thursday night. If you didn't play Dell, then he's on your bench and you can't move him in. The answer is the first 3: Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith. I'm not playing Jaden Reed. You have top line talent in Amon-Ra, Olave, and Devontae Smith. Reed's a stud. He's been a little up and down this year, but bad weather and Jordan Love on the injury report. I don't want to play Reed given these other options. Dell already played, so if you didn't start him, then he's out. And Waddle has been up. I like Waddle this week, but I like those other 3 names more. Amon-Ra, bad weather in Green Bay, but it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're not sitting him. Chris Olave, Derek Carr is back. Good matchup against the Panthers. Rashid Shaheed is out. Olave, and I'll take Devontae Smith against Jacksonville. There's nothing scary about that matchup. Actually, quite the opposite. It's a great matchup. Trade Kraft and Brian Thomas for Bowers. I don't want to trade Brian Thomas. I would want to know who the rest of your wide receivers are. I do want to upgrade from Kraft to Bowers. I don't want to trade Brian Thomas to make that happen. Unless you've got, do you have Lamb? Do you have any one of Lamb, Chase, or Amon-Ra? And then did you get London in the second round? Who else has been like really good at wide receiver who you could conceivably have drafted in like the middle rounds? I don't even know. All the wide receivers have been kind of disappointing this year. If you've got really good wide receiver depth, maybe, but I don't really want to give up Brian Thomas. Do I want to upgrade my tight end situation? Sure. Do I want to give up a really good young wide receiver to do it? Not as much. You have McLaurin, Kupp, Chase, and Hill. Okay. Well, that changes things. If those are your 4 wide receivers, then okay, fine. Then sure. You can make that trade. You're super top heavy at wide receiver. You've got really good options. Yes. You can make that trade. That's fine. And yep, Titans defense worth a shot. I wouldn't play the Titans over the Eagles. I like the Eagles against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are really banged up coming into this game. But I would play the Titans over the Saints. The Saints stink. The Bengals, it's a good matchup, but they stink. They're not good. Like, New Orleans is the worst run defense in the NFL by the numbers. And they're bottom 5 against the pass. I know it's Bryce Young. But it's like, what happens when a stoppable force meets a movable object? Like, Chuba Hubbard could easily have a really good day against the Saints and put up some scores against them to knock their point total down. I don't trust them to make big plays with Lattimore out. Like, yeah. I'll take the Titans over the Saints. I'll take the Titans over the Bengals. The Bengals defense, they stink too. Yeah, the Bengals on the season are bottom 8 against the run. They're bottom 10 against the pass. And they've been even worse on their season average. They've been even worse the past few weeks. So, they're not getting better. Yeah, I'll take the Titans. I'll take the Titans. I think they're in a good spot tomorrow. Chubb, Rico, Dobbins were picking 2. I would play Dobbins. Some weeks he wins you the week. Other weeks, he maybe gives you a little bit more of like a boring flex play, but he hasn't killed you any one game this year. It's not a great matchup, but Dobbins has been steady. He has been steady. Chubb or Dowdle? I've been off of Chubb this year, and I have been in on Dowdle. So naturally, I want to say Dowdle. I think I want to say Dowdle. Nick Chubb. I'm very happy for Nick Chubb. Like, he came back, brutal knee injury last year. It's going to be his third straight game that he plays this year. That's awesome. Hats off to Nick Chubb. He hasn't exactly like gone. He hasn't. It's only a 2-game sample size, but he hasn't done a whole lot to prove like how back is Nick Chubb. Last week he got 16 carries. Bad matchup against Baltimore, to be fair, but it was a home game. He got 16 carries. He turned it into 52 rushing yards. That's 3.25 yards per carry. He's got 1 catch in 2 games back thus far. And this is actually not a great matchup by the numbers. The Chargers are solid. They've been a more beatable opponent on the road recently, but on the season, they're a top 10 opponent against the run. Yeah, I'll take Dowdle. Atlanta has been better against the run recently, but Zeke is out. There's a high point total expected in this game. I'll take Rico over Chubb, and I will take Dobbins over both. Yep. Give me Rico, give me Dobbins. I'm happy for Chubb. I just don't know yet. And yeah, I'll take the Eagles over the Titans, but I'll take the Titans over the Saints and the Bengals for sure. Yep. I like the Titans as a stream this week, but I'll take the Eagles. I think that, I think they're in a little bit better of a spot. Jacksonville is hurting badly coming into that game. Okay, so to that point, Jags game time calls in the and they're playing in the 4:00 Eastern time slot. I would probably, as of right now, pivot to Cedric Tillman. And we obviously have the luxury of a little bit more time. We can see leading up to kickoff if there are any different vibes about Brian Thomas's availability. If we're not getting good vibes, I would play Tillman definitively. If there's optimism that Brian Thomas will play before the 1 p.m. Eastern games kick off, then I might be willing to wait on Brian Thomas because he is that dude. Brian Thomas is awesome. He is so freaking good. I may want to wait on him, but I need good information before the 1 p.m. kickoff. If he remains a game time decision as the 1 p.m. kickoffs are happening, I would play Tillman. I don't want to pivot to Parker Washington. Wicks has been inconsistent and bad conditions in Green Bay tomorrow, bad weather expected. I'll pivot to Tillman if Brian Thomas is still a game time call going into the 1 p.m. kickoffs. But if he's expected to play, then I'm okay with firing up Brian Thomas and rolling the dice because he's been awesome. So another defense question. Yeah, I'll take the Titans. It's a good reminder that L'Jarius Sneed is out, but they do have a good front four. The Titans do. They have a good front four. And the Patriots' offensive line is so bad. They are so bad. I think they're second in the NFL in sacks allowed. They would be first if it wasn't for Cleveland, which is an indictment on Deshaun Watson. The Patriots' offensive line stinks. They stink. And the Titans' defensive line is underrated. They're solid. Give me the Titans, even though Sneed is out. I don't want to play the Rams. Their defense isn't good. It's been a while since we've said this about New England, but their defense isn't good either. Give me the Titans. Of this group, give me the Titans. Hey, that's awesome. Every call? Geez, that's a lot of pressure to keep batting 1,000. But I'm glad to hear it. Appreciate that we're able to help out so far. Let's keep this gravy train rolling. Um, and yeah, and Adam's got a touchdown on TNF, so nicely done. Addison, by the way, for the record, he could be trending down rest of season with Hawkinson's return. That doesn't mean he's going to be unplayable every week, but consistency could remain an issue for him moving forward. You want to pick up Corin because you have Kyron. Got it. It depends on who your options are as far as the rest of your running backs and the rest of your receivers. If you are deep at running back, I don't think I would drop any of these guys either way. But Singletary is on the cusp. I don't want to drop running back depth, healthy running back depth. But I do understand wanting to handcuff a starting running back. Liggett on the injury report. McMillan is also on the injury report, so both of these guys are banged up. They both have expanded potential opportunities rest of season. I guess I would drop McMillan and keep your running back depth. I like McMillan. I think better days are ahead for him. He's been kind of quiet recently, last week was his first opportunity to step up in at Chris Godwin's absence. Baker just missed him on a long bomb for a score. And as excellent as Baker has played this year, that bad ball was on Baker. It wasn't on McMillan. I do think McMillan has a good shot to continue to contribute moving forward, but on the injury report, and if you want to pick up a running back handcuff, which I totally understand, McMillan would be my call here. Goff or Love? Honestly, who is available on waivers? We're looking at some bad weather tomorrow in Green Bay that could really affect the passing game. We're expecting rain in Green Bay. We're expecting 17, 18 mile per hour winds in Green Bay tomorrow. Goff is way better at home than he is on the road, so I was looking to pivot off of Goff anyway. The weather makes it even worse, and Love with the injury, he's on the injury report plus the rain weather. I want to move off of him too. Is Bo Nix available? Is Caleb Williams available, who has been up and down, but at least is playing in no weather issues tomorrow because he's in Arizona in the desert, and they have a dome if they need it. I would move off of these guys. I would move off of both of these guys. Like, is Kirk Cousins available? Probably not, but is he available? Is Sam Darnold available? Is Jameis Winston available? Is Stafford available? Even though he's dealing with bad weather. Hell, is Flacco available? I would play Flacco over these guys. I know we feel like we're kind of grasping at straws a little bit here potentially with this situation, but both of these quarterbacks are in Green Bay tomorrow, and they're dealing with rain and wind. Goff is not great on the road, even in good conditions, and Love is dealing with a groin injury. So I'd rather not play either one of these guys. I would play Flacco over both of these guys. No weather, good matchup against the Vikings. They're giving up a lot of passing yards, and they blitz a lot. Flacco has been really good, but in a small sample size against the blitz this year. I think he's going to be fine. And again, small sample size, but he's a veteran quarterback. He's 75 years old. He's seen everything. He nothing's going to phase him or shock him or anything like that. Not a bad matchup anyway in the dome. I would play Flacco over these guys. Kraft or Laporta rest of the season? Laporta. I mean, we got to bet on it. I know Laporta's usage has been frustrating this year, but he caught a touchdown last week. Jameson Williams is out for another week. I don't want to play either of these guys tomorrow. I don't really want to play either of these guys tomorrow in the weather, in the elements. I would maybe consider like a Taysom Hill if he's available. But I'll take Laporta. His involvement could be going up. Jameson Williams suspended, continuing to shoot himself in the foot. That didn't actually happen, but, J-Mo can't seem to get out of his own way. The guy is super talented, but he can't seem to get out of his own way. This will be his second suspension for two different things. It's only a 2-gamer. I get it. He'll be back in week 10. But this opens the window, the door for Laporta to kind of go back to being that consistent option in the passing game behind Amon-Ra. Kraft is good. I like Kraft. He's been a good player, but there's more mouths to feed in Green Bay. I mean, you could, for Detroit, you could argue Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, even David Montgomery, solid pass catcher out of the backfield. But if J-Mo can't stay out of his own way, Laporta figures to be the direct beneficiary of that. I'll take Laporta. I'll continue to bank on Laporta. Kraft, good player, worth rostering, been really good this year. But any given week, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson. Chiefs or Vikings defense, I'll take the Chiefs. They're playing the Bucs at home, and they're pretty banged up. McMillan on the injury report. Sterling Shepard on the injury report. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, not playing. Cade Otton, stud out of necessity, but also has earned the targets. But that's pretty much like all they're down to. We're down to, their healthy wide receivers might be Trey Palmer and Raheem Jarrett. Rachaad White, their run defense is tops in the league. Bucky Irving's got a toe injury. I'll take the Chiefs. The Vikings are getting gashed through the air, and Flacco is not the same. If it was Anthony Richardson in there, the Vikings would be a damn good stream, but Flacco being in there makes them less appealing. I'll take the Chiefs. Yeah, it could be strategy. It could be coach speak. These reports are sometimes difficult to trust. We got to take it up as much time as we can, like up to kickoff. But yeah, if we're not getting any new updates, if he remains a game time call and it's, 12:55 East, I would put Tillman in there. Thoughts on your team? Lamar, QB1. Tua, you don't need if it's a one quarterback league. Bijan, Pollard, Dobbins, good. Amon-Ra, Reed, Devontae. Yeah, good wide receivers. Strong tight end option. I would drop Tua and pick up another running back. I don't even care who it is. In a one quarterback league, if you have a guy like Lamar Jackson, you don't need another you don't need another QB. You don't need another quarterback. And I get you have Waddle, so you have like the stack with Tua. You don't need him. When's Lamar's bye week? That's the only time you got to worry about it. And it's not until week 14. Lamar Jackson's going to be your starting quarterback until week 14. We'll worry about your QB2 when it's time to worry about your QB2, not beforehand. And I get the idea of planning ahead and all that stuff. The onesie positions, as they, some people refer to them as, I don't think I'm alone. The onesie positions, I've seen that written before. Quarterback in one quarterback leagues and tight end, I only roster one. I will deal with having to replace them when the time comes. Like Lamar Jackson is your starting quarterback this week, next week, the rest of the month until week 14. I would not worry about rostering Tua. I would pick up another running back. I don't care who it is. I like the rest of the squad, though. It's a good team. Lots of wide receiver depth. I would drop Tua. I would pick up another running back. We'll deal with your quarterback if there is a situation that presents itself where you have to outside of the bye week. But Lamar is your guy. You're not taking him out of your lineup even in the worst matchup. Tillman, Flowers, Marvin Harrison in full PPR. I'll take Marvin Harrison. I think I got this earlier, like Marvin Harrison versus Tillman. Tillman is dealing with potential 17, 18 mile per hour winds, and Harrison is playing in the desert both are coming off of good games. Tillman's coming off the better game, but it's a tough matchup, and he's dealing with wind. 17, 18 mile per hour winds is what the weather report is for Cleveland tomorrow. Harrison is in the desert, also coming off a good game. Not as good of a matchup. Neither are in a good matchup, but I'll take Harrison with no weather. Flowers, he's all or nothing, and even his all hasn't actually been stellar this year. He only has one touchdown on the season. I think he's got like 300-yard games, which is great. He's been not good otherwise. And now Deontay Johnson is in the mix. So I'll take Harrison of this group. And then Otten versus Ferguson. Are we raining in Kansas City too? Why is there so much rain and wind across the country this weekend? Kansas City weather. On Monday, yeah, 60% chance of rain, 12-mile-per-hour winds. Why? Okay, it looks like though, as we get into nighttime, it looks like the rain is going to maybe subside. It looks like it's going to be potentially bad during the day and late afternoon. But if the forecast is to be believed, it looks like the rain will start to die down at night, which is when the game is being played. The wind, not as much, but the rain looks like it's going to come down a little bit as the night progresses. I'll say Otten. I will say Otten. The rain is in the forecast for the day in Kansas City, but if you look at the hour by hour, it looks like it's coming down as we move through the night when the game is being played. I'll take Otten. It looks like the rain should subside as the game moves along. I'll take Otten. And it was a pick one for those wide receivers. Yeah, I'll take Marvin Harrison in the desert. I'm trying to avoid like any weather issues, and it seems like there's a lot of weather issues tomorrow. But for Otten in particular, I have him as a top 3 or 4 tight end this week. It's Kelsey, Bowers, Otten, and McBride. Like, I'll play, and if you have 2 of those guys, then it's like take your pick. But they're top 4 plays this week, and I want them in my lineup. I'll take Otten. Rain should subside as the game moves along. Just checking to see if there's any more injury updates. Nothing since we got the optimism that Tony Pollard will play tomorrow. Okay. Looks like we're closing in on the end of the chat. Probably going to be shutting this down here somewhat soon. I will make sure to leave some time for any last minute questions to pop in. But appreciate everybody's time, patience, energy, whatever have you, coming in and handing out this evening. Obviously, best of luck in your matchups tomorrow. Keon Coleman or Dobbs? I'll take Coleman. Dobbs is dealing with rain and wind in Green Bay, and Amari Cooper is on the injury report with a wrist injury. So I'll take Coleman over Dobbs. I'll take Coleman. No. I would keep Brian. I'm not trading Brian Robinson for Bucky Irving. No. Brian Robinson is the starter. Irving looks good, but he's got the toe injury that is expected to linger all year. Rachaad White will continue to take opportunities away. I would rather keep Robinson for the season. I know he's banged up now. I know he's on the injury report now, but it's a long season. He'll get healthy eventually. Yeah, I'll take Brian Robinson rest of season. Irving is also dealing with an injury. Let's see. Oh, Siobhan is a member, I think, courtesy of He Hate Me's generous donation. So welcome aboard as a member, Siobhan. I hope I'm saying that correctly. You're taking a shot with Mahomes. Mahomes over who? Unless that's your only option at quarterback. Downs, I like. Achane and Tracy, I like. The KC defense and Butker, yep. No, I would not. Wait, hold on a second here. I would not play Tracy over Chase Brown. I would play Chase Brown. No Zach Moss, excellent matchup. Chase Brown is a top 10 play for me this week. I would play Chase Brown. If you want to play Achane over Montgomery, I understand that. but I would play Chase Brown over Tracy. I would play Chase Brown. And I would probably play you also have Devontae Smith. I think I would play Devontae Smith over Tillman. It's a great matchup against Jacksonville. Yeah. I would play Chase Brown over Tracy. I like Tracy tomorrow, but Chase Brown is a top 10 play. Zach Moss is doubtful, not looking good to play at home against the Raiders. Potentially gets a couple more looks in the passing game with Higgins out. I'll take Chase Brown over Tracy. Achane, yes, keep in your lineup. I would also put Devontae Smith in over Tillman. Downs, I would keep in. I would put Smith in over Tillman. It's a beautiful matchup against Jacksonville. What's the weather in Philly tomorrow? Speaking of East Coast cities. There's no concerns. It's like 60 degrees in Philly tomorrow, but only a 3% chance of rain. Is it gonna be windy? Nah, 8 to 10 miles per hour. No issues there. No, I would play. I mean, do what you want, Siobhan. Obviously, it's your team. Do what you think makes the most sense. I would play Chase Brown over Tracy, and I would play Devontae Smith over Tillman. Everything else looks fine. And you only have Mahomes. Okay, so that's probably your best option. And Mahomes has been disappointing this year, but at least it's a good matchup against Tampa Bay. So he should be all right. But Downs start, Achane start, Njoku, yes. I would play Devontae Smith over Tillman, and I would play Chase Brown over Tracy. I wish he didn't have to bench David Montgomery either, but on the road in bad weather of these options, I guess that's fine. But I do like David Montgomery for what it's worth. And yes, Brian Robinson might not play this week. I would still rather have him rest of season than somebody like Bucky Irving, who has looked good, but he's also dealing with a toe injury that is expected to linger rest of year. I'll take Brian Robinson. And Rachaad White gets more pass catching opportunities, which are more valuable. I would prefer to have Robinson over Bucky rest of season. How much better is Flacco than Lawrence tomorrow? Probably a solid bet. Lawrence is down Christian Kirk. He could be down like both of his starting running backs. Gabe Davis stinks. Brian Thomas is a game time call. We're down to like Evan Ingram and Parker Washington for Trevor Lawrence in a bad matchup, whereas Flacco is in a good matchup with much better weapons. I would say Flacco is a better option than Lawrence for tomorrow. I would say Flacco is a better option. Yeah. Downs and Pittman are better than no Christian Kirk and a banged up game time decision Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis. Yup. I would rather play Flacco. I would rather play Flacco than Lawrence. Flowers or DJ Moore? Give me DJ Moore. I know he's up and down. I know he's disappointing, but like here and there. But it's a good matchup by the numbers. Chicago should have to throw tomorrow against Arizona. Flowers is all or nothing, and Deontay Johnson is in the mix now. A game against Denver where maybe Flowers sees Surtain. Nah, I'd rather not. I'll take DJ Moore. I'll roll the dice on his potential stealing week in a good matchup against Arizona. I'll take DJ Moore. I'll roll the dice on DJ Moore. If Robinson doesn't play, Dowdle, Bigsby, or McNichols. Dowdle. Bigsby's on the injury report. I'm not picking up McNichols. That's too far down the dart throw order for me or list for me. I'll start Dowdle. He's an RB2 tomorrow. Zeke is out. Inactive. Disciplinary reasons. Didn't travel with the team. Lots of points expected in this Cowboys-Falcons game. I'll take Dowdle. I will take Dowdle. Bigsby's on the injury report. and it's not a good matchup. Dowdle if Brian Robinson doesn't play, for sure. Flex 1, Amari Cooper or Hopkins? Ugh. Both guys are like difficult to trust. Hopkins, I guess. Cooper's on the injury report. Hopkins plays on Monday night, and Cooper plays early tomorrow. If Cooper is off the injury report, I'll take Cooper. I'll take Cooper. He's, they just traded for him. You figure he's going to see, a route participation go up to the 80th percentile or so after a couple of weeks. We saw his participation go up last week to like about 60%, even though he didn't do anything with it. He was on the field more than he was in week 7. So you figure that trend will go up, but he has to play. If Cooper is active, I'll take Cooper. But if Cooper's ruled out, then you can just put Hopkins in there. He plays Monday night, so no worries about like availability and different times and all that stuff. I'll tentatively play Cooper if he's active. Vikings D, Lions D, or New England. Are the Titans available? That's going to be my answer for any defensive stream questions for this weekend. Are the Titans defense available? If they're not, then I guess the Vikings. I don't want to play the Lions in bad weather on the road. I don't want to play New England on the road. It's not a bad matchup for them, but they're not that good. The Vikings, at least, they can create some pressure on the quarterback, even though Flacco is good enough to exploit and expose any mismatches that he can find as a savvy vet. Are the Titans available? That would be my answer to this question. If the Titans are available, I would pick them. I would stream them. If not, I guess if the Titans are not available, I guess Minnesota. At least they're at home. They're pretty good at blitzing. Could create some sacks. Trading for Mason, you could. What we just don't know. Like if this is Brian Robinson for Mason, you could try that. It's just the 49ers backfield is so unpredictable right now. We don't know what this is going to look like after McCaffrey comes back. Does McCaffrey come back and take over his typical workload? Does he is it a 50-50 split? Do they have to ease him back in and he's not fully himself until week 14 or 15? Like, there's a lot of question marks here. Mason should probably maintain a role the rest of the way. If you don't believe in McCaffrey, if you yourself are saying, I don't think McCaffrey is going to be the Christian McCaffrey of old and he's going to be in a timeshare and he might be less than 100% and all that stuff, then sure, you could try Jordan Mason. If you believe that, then that organically means that you think Mason will remain involved, potentially as the 1A, even when McCaffrey returns, at least for a couple of weeks. So you could, if you believe McCaffrey will be, eased in or you don't trust him, then sure. But it is a questionable situation right now. Whereas with Brian Robinson, I know he's the guy when healthy. So it's a risky roll of the dice. I guess I would ultimately probably just keep Brian Robinson. I'll take the Eagles defense over the Vikings. Banged up Jacksonville team. Home game for the Eagles. That's a home game for the Vikings, but I trust Flacco and his weapons more than I trust Lawrence and his banged up offense. I'll take the Eagles. And I'll take the Eagles over Cincinnati as well. Cincinnati's defense is not good. I do not want to stream them just because they're playing the Raiders. Carr is available against New Orleans or against Carolina for New Orleans. That one doesn't do a whole lot for me. If Flacco is not available, then I guess I would play Jordan Love. Carr is too far down the list for me. It's his first game back from a multi-week absence. He doesn't have Rashid Shaheed. The whole backfield is injured outside of Kamara. He's got Olave, which is good, but Bub Means is hurt. Like, all their depth is banged up. Yeah, I don't want to play Carr. I guess I'll play Love. I don't feel super great about it, but I guess I'll play Love if these are your best options. I don't like the weather. I'm not a fan of the weather in Green Bay, but I'm not feeling Derek Carr in his first game back on the road. It's a good matchup, but I don't know if I trust Derek Carr in his first game back after a multi-week absence with all of these injuries that the Saints are dealing with on offense. And they may go run heavy. Taysom Hill, all that stuff. Harrison, Hopkins, Bucky, Tillman. I'll take Harrison. I'll take Marvin Harrison. Bucky, bad matchup against the Chiefs. One of the worst matchups you could ask for, plus the toe injury. I like Tillman, but 17, 18 mile per hour winds. I slightly prefer Marvin Harrison with no weather concerns. And Hopkins, he hasn't done enough. And it's only his second game with the team. He hasn't done enough. I'll take Marvin Harrison. Dobbins, Stevenson, Chubb in full PPR. Give me Dobbins. Ceiling is an RB1. Floor is an RB3. He can win you weeks. He won't lose you weeks. Not a great matchup against Cleveland, but they're a little bit more beatable over the last couple of weeks on the ground. And it's Dobbins' backfield. Gus Edwards still on IR. Kimani Vidal, depth player. I'll take Dobbins. Attached to Justin Herbert. Stevenson could come through, could bottom out. He's bottomed out worse than, his worst weeks. Stevenson's worst weeks are worse than Dobbins' worst weeks. So Dobbins' floor is stronger. And then Chubb, he's not all the way back yet. So I want to keep waiting on Chubb. And then I'll take Ferguson over Laporta for this week anyway. Ferguson plays in a dome. Laporta's playing in bad weather in Green Bay. Rain, 17, 18 mile per hour winds, 16, 17, 18 mile per hour winds are expected for that game in Green Bay tomorrow. I do not want to mess with anybody outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown if I don't have to for the passing game there. I'll take Ferguson over Laporta. My thoughts on Julius Chestnut are I'm not picking him up. There's optimism. As of an hour ago, there's optimism that Tony Pollard will play. So I'm not picking up Chestnut. I'm not spot starting him. Spears is out, so he'll get a couple of opportunities in theory, but Pollard, there's optimism he plays. So I'm not feeling Julius Chestnut as like a flex or a spot starter, even a pickup. I don't even know that I'd necessarily care to pick him up. In a 14-team league, yeah, sure, okay. Running back depth is running back depth, but 10 or 12-team league, nah. Could change if Pollard is ultimately ruled out, but it sounds like he's going to play. So if that's the case, Chestnut can remain on waivers. All right, guys, I'm at the end of the chat, and I do have to wrap this up, but I appreciate everybody's time, patience, and hanging out tonight. I will be live tomorrow for a short amount of time, and it's probably going to be a members-only stream. Sunday mornings moving forward will be member-only stream, so you can join, but you have to be a member to be able to contribute or to at least ask a question. You can get in at the lowest level membership, 99 cents a month. It's not a significant amount if you are curious about or interested in joining the Sunday morning streams moving forward. And you will also get priority responses to questions and comments in any other public stream. The Sunday morning streams moving forward will be members only, but I will be available for a short amount of time tomorrow if anybody needs any last minute thoughts. McLaurin Downs, you're playing McLaurin, you're playing Downs, and you're playing Neighbors. Those are your 3 wide receivers. Brian Thomas, game time call. So let's move off of him this week. I like Marvin Harrison, but I like those other 3 more. I like McLaurin, Downs, and Neighbors tomorrow a little bit more than Marvin Harrison. Yep. I'll take Terry. I'll take Downs. Great matchup. And I'll take Neighbors. Neighbors has been a little bit more, I guess he's been a little quieter than Marvin Harrison over the past couple of weeks, but he's still a guy where I'm like, okay, I can believe in him, especially in this matchup. Right. Yeah, it's still a good matchup by the numbers. Neighbors last week, 7 for 71. Yeah, he's still, yeah, we're going back to the well with Neighbors in a good matchup. Neighbors, McLaurin, Downs. Those are my 3. Okay. That'll do it for me tonight. Thank you, everybody. Special shout out to my members that I saw. Oh my God, there were so many. He Hate Me. Generous donation for a few more memberships. Very kind of you. Appreciate that, man. Very much. I saw Jake. I saw Jay. I saw Derek. I saw some new members, Armando and Siobhan. Welcome in. Again, courtesy of He Hate Me. I saw David. I mentioned Jake. I saw Jake. Appreciate my members. I saw Emil, new member as well, courtesy of He Hate Me. Thank you so much for the generous donation. And then my supers, Tyler, Don, MVM. Appreciate you guys very much for the support of the channel. Thank you guys so much. I will be back short amount of time tomorrow ahead of kickoff for a members only stream. Any last minute thoughts? And then I'll be back on Tuesday, of course. Public streams Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, waiver wire help as well. So if you're not able to join tomorrow, best of luck in your matchups. If that's not the case, everybody have a great rest of your Saturday night. And thank you again for the time. Best of luck. Thanks, everyone.